In this series, I'm going
True.
about brain and heart coherence and wisdom.
Okay. Namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across the planet, around the world. I'm Greg from N5D. Welcome to my little abode where you're all welcome to join me. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a fun subject. Can you believe this happened to me? And we've all gone through a lot of stuff since our awakening. We've seen things that are just, to other people, might be mind-blowing. Now, I usually tell universe, show me something that's going to make my jaw drop in a good way. And I still haven't had my jaw drop. I could have the Arcturian Council manifest right here, right now, and my jaw wouldn't drop. I'd be like, hey, come on over. We got a show to do right now. You know, nothing surprising. I still haven't had that jaw dropping moment. You know, so I'm hoping that one time that'll happen. So I got to show you guys this before we get started and while people are joining us. So, okay, I log on. And this was on the opening page of when I logged on. Now, if you guys remember, back on New Year's Eve, I had the New Year's Eve predictions. And one of the predictions was that Queen Elizabeth will die. Well, is this foreshadowing with what's going on? Check this out. Former Royals owner David Glass dies at 85. The royal, a dead royal, a member of the royal, the Royals family. So maybe that's foreshadowing with what's about to go on. I don't know. I just want to remind people too, if you haven't yet, join us on Patreon. Starting the first Wednesday of every month, we have an Insiders Club private chat on Zoom. So what comes there stays there, unless it's really, really important and I get the permission of whoever says it, then we'll bring it on YouTube. But you know, it's kind of like Vegas. What comes here stays here. So consider joining us on Patreon. Also, we had a meetup last night between Sology, Todd Medina, and his group with N5D, my group. And we met up on the 99.9% quartz crystal sands of Siesta Key Beach. I put part of it on my N5D YouTube channel. We didn't have good lighting. And we're going to have another meetup on February 8th, 2020 of this year. So, and it's free. So stay tuned to N5D for more details. You know, if you feel inclined to get out from whatever crappy weather you're having up north and come down to Florida where it's beautiful, join us. You know, I was at the beach today with just playing bocce ball, and there was these group of girls that were behind me from Vermont, and this one girl had hair identical to mine, and all of her girlfriends made a comment of that, and they all took pictures of us together. She was like a sister from another mister. So somewhere out there, probably on Facebook, are a bunch of pictures of me with some woman I don't know. So anyway, so yeah, we have these shirts. Oh yeah, that reminds me, from last night, I gave a couple shirts. I brought a couple shirts with me, and they were like seconds that I made. Like, for example, I might have been dyeing a shirt next to another shirt, and it got like a couple drops of that one particular dye on it, on the other shirt. that was next to it. So I didn't sell those ones, but I gave them away. So I gave them away to a couple people yesterday, Marcy and Tracy. So, if you guys are watching, let me know. Wear them to bed. Do me a favor, wear them to bed, because everyone's saying they're getting these amazing dreams when they're wearing them to bed. Okay. So let me know if you're watching. Okay. So I think I covered just about everything that I want to cover, and I'm going to get busy here in a second. Let me give a shout out to everybody in YouTube land. Thank you for joining us there as well. We got 45 people right now. So quick shout out to Matthias, Hire, Ashanti, Willow, Imelda, Beach Wave, Willow, Karen, Krynen, Marta, Debbie, and everybody else that's joining us there from YouTube land. Beach Wave said, hi, I was just popping in to watch the beach video with Todd. Well, here you are live with us. Here we go. It's going to be a fun show tonight. So I highly encourage people to join in. I can go a while with this topic, but I'd much rather hear your stories than mine. Chances are you probably already heard my stories anyway. And a quick shout out to everyone that's joining us here in Zoom, which would include Allie, Gary, Sarah, Susan, Tim. So thank you for joining me here as well. So can you believe this happened to me? This is going to be a fun topic because, like I said, all of us have gone through certain things that are probably unexplainable to other people. But you guys, anyone listening, our little group here, you guys will understand. So there's nothing you can say that anyone would say, I don't believe that. I'd pretty much believe anything at this point because, with all the stuff I've seen, it's great. Especially after being, many of you also know that I was a child and family therapist while I was building in 5D and when I got that galactic download. That would be the first one, I guess. If it wasn't for that galactic download, none of us would be here right now. But what happened, I went to pick up my daughter. I had joint custody when my daughter was younger. She's 25 now. But I had joint custody and I went over to pick up my daughter. And she wasn't ready. She was still getting her stuff together. And her mother, Bella, said, well, why don't you come on in? I want to show you something. And she brings me inside and she goes, have you ever seen the trailer to The Secret? I'm like, no. So I checked it out. It's when The Secret first came out. And I was so blown away by it that by the time Brittany and I got in the car and got home, I ordered it and it came a few days later and it changed my life. Before The Secret, I was like the world's biggest sports fanatic. I have a photographic memory when it comes to statistics in sports. I can glance at the sports page and tell you who's 5th in the NFL in passer rating, who's 7th in the NFC in interceptions, who's 9th in the Major League and American League in RBIs or doubles or whatever. But it was a lot of useless crap that I was maintaining in my brain. But once I watched The Secret, I basically stopped watching all sports except for the NFL football, National Football League. Go Chiefs. They're playing Sunday against Tennessee. But yeah, I watch football. I understand that it's divide and conquer. My tribe against your tribe. When the Chiefs play the Cowboys, it's the Cowboys against the Indians. I get it. The Tennessee Titans against the New York Giants, it's the Nephilim or the Elohim against the Anunnaki or whatever. I totally get it. New Jersey Devils, California Angels, it's right there in front of us, divide and conquer. But I dropped it all. And like I said, I just watch football now. And I found myself. And when I had that download, it was almost like a hologram. Bam, that came in. And it just had all the information that I needed. And I was told that I need to build a website. Here's your website's name in 5D. They didn't tell me that I had to build the website from scratch, which I did. I taught myself HTML. That's what they said. Build a website. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. They didn't tell me there's WordPress out there, which is a lot easier than building and teaching yourself how to build a website from scratch. But I did it from scratch. And you can actually go back. It came out really cool. You can go back on Wayback Machine and check out like what it looked like way back then. Looked fantastic. But I built it from scratch. They told me that you have to do interviews and radio shows. And I'm like, you got the wrong person. I'm an introvert. They said, nope, it's you. Here's the name in 5D. So I'm like, yeah, right. As if that's available. And I checked it out and it was. So I bought the URL and here we all are. So the secret does work. It, it will listen when I'm sure other people have had galactic downloads when they put it out there. What I did at the time, I was a child and family therapist. I surrendered and I said, that's it. I give up. What is it that you want me to do? Because I felt like there was something much bigger or greater that I was supposed to be doing. And at the time, I had my own business and I had a patent pending on a program designed to help families who are at risk of dissolution, children going through the reunification process, such as foster homes, and for parents in need of parenting classes. And my program was approved by the area's largest human services facility, Heartland for Children, in a 3-county area. But I knew there was something greater outside of that I needed to do. And with what I'm doing right now, and I still love doing that. I mean, that was a passion of mine, to help at-risk youth. I love working with children. But I knew that there's something greater I needed to do. And with the website, I can reach a lot more people as well. So here we are. That was just one of my things that, galactic downloads. Can you believe that happened to me? Another one would be when I was a kid. I always heard I'd drift off hearing like voices talking, like muffled voices, but it wasn't my parents. My parents were like a few doorways down, watching whatever on TV, whatever they were doing. But it wasn't anything from the TV. And it sounded like it was like in my room, but it was kind of muffled. I just like fall asleep listening to those muffled voices. But I think it was about 2009, 2010. I'm laying down and I have a pen and a piece of paper next to me, next to my bed, because I write down my dreams when I wake up. So I'm just about to fall asleep when I hear these voices, and they're talking loud, as if you and I are talking right now. And it was audible, and nobody else would probably be able to have heard what I heard. It was just, all within my own head. But it was like a male and a female voice layered upon each other too. But one voice. And as I was thinking the questions, this voice would answer them before I even had a chance to ask them fully ask them what my question was. And for example, the initial question was, how is this possible for us to have this conversation? But as soon as I thought, they were already answering my question. So it works telepathically, that communication. They told me that they were from Zeta Reticuli. And I wrote that down, and I'm in that trance-like state. They told me also that when it's possible to have that communication with them, because when you go to sleep, your mind, right before you go to sleep, goes into the alpha state, and that makes that kind of communication possible. So if you ever wanted to channel, that's when you're going to do it. You're going to do it. Or you can train your mind to go into that state, which I do at the beach when I meditate and hook into my third eye as well. So, they tell me that they're from Zeta Reticuli, and I'm like, yeah, right. But I wrote it down, and after this little chat that we had, I went online, and sure shit, there is a Zeta Reticuli. I didn't honestly think there was. I never had heard of it. So apparently that's where some grays are from. And I don't think these are malevolent grays. They didn't do or say anything to misguide me. But what I ended my communications with them because I said, you know what? I don't need a middleman. I'll just go to source. And that's what I do. And I have been doing. So, you guys have heard and seen a lot of the things I've heard and seen and saw, and, visions that I get and dreams that I have, like the 3 tidal waves that are coming, which is nothing to be afraid of. It's just waves of energy. But I'm going to leave it off at that right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up our Zoom room, and we'd like to know if anyone wants to join in on our topic tonight and share some of your stories.
Definitely.
I looked at the Christmas stuff that I actually had ready for him. Yeah, it's still on the back porch.
I don't know. Somebody's talking about Christmas. Anyone? Hands? I see people here.
What are you doing?
Tell us, can you believe this happened to me, and tell us what this might be.
I've had stuff happening to me ever since I was a little kid. It was kind of weird,
Me too. Go ahead.
This, like for instance, one night I was washing the dishes. Like I used to do that. That was my chore just about every night. And, I was the only like 3rd grader that had dishpan hands. And anyway, my grandmother had just died a couple of months before this. And she had died of cancer at the house where I was living. And I'm washing the dishes, and my folks both were heavy smokers. And there was like one of those sort of like hard plastic ashtrays that used to have places for like 5 or 6 cigarette butts to go into them. And I'm listening to the radio while I'm washing the dishes, and all of a sudden I hear something scrape, and I look over to my left, and the ashtray moved across the counter towards me about 4 feet. And of course, I just looked at it, my eyes like this, like, okay, this can't be happening. And so I immediately stopped washing the dishes and turned off the radio. And I took it and I moved it back where it was to begin with. And then I tried to see, okay, maybe the counter was wet and it slid. So I just thumped it a little bit, didn't move an inch. Kept trying to, come up with a rational reason. And I realized, you know what? I bet this is Nanny reminding me to do a good job on the dishes like she used to when I used to do the dishes at her house.
Maybe you were supposed to wash that
entire
ashtray.
Life. Pardon?
Maybe you were supposed to wash that ashtray.
Yeah. I have been looking back on my life, I've really led a charmed existence. A lot of times I should not have survived without injury. I was in a lot of situations that were dangerous. I remember once in Germany in the Army, I had to go pick up a broken down Jeep in the middle of the winter with another Jeep. And so what you did was you basically just had an A-frame. We put the top of the frame on our bumper hitch and then put onto the 2 eyes on the front of the other Jeep. And we're driving back down these mountain roads, and all of a sudden we hit a patch of black ice. And people in where I live, they don't, what was that? It's something that, in the South, I grew up in Alabama, nobody's ever heard of black ice. Well, by the time we stopped spinning around, I was in the passenger seat, and I was up against a guardrail, and I looked over my window because, we just had a zip down window. And it was about a 200-foot drop. And we're facing the other way. We had come to rest against the guardrail facing the other way. Just as I get out of the Jeep and start walking across the black ice carefully, I hear a German bus coming around the curve. And all of a sudden, this dude's hitting his brakes because you hear that, and the bus starts spinning. And somehow it missed me. And it hit the Jeep. It actually knocked the Jeep halfway off the cliff, but the front Jeep kept it from that kind of stuff happened to me my entire life. I mean, it's just strange. So I figure my guardian angel has like ninja guardian angel skills. I mean, this is a bad guardian angel I got on my shoulder, and I'm just.
How many of the situations were you responsible for and they still saved your ass?
God, hundreds. I mean,
Yeah.
I
think that's a-
talked the last time I was on here. I talked about once I was driving around with some buddies, just kind of beating along to the radio on the side of the car door. And for some reason, and the song was still going, I was still tapping along, but all of a sudden I felt, I better put my arm in for a minute. And just as I got it in the window, another car hit the door right where my arm had been hanging.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was meant to escape that, because had that happened, I never would have been able to enlist in the military and travel and do all the, weird and interesting things I got to do. So I've been blessed, really.
I think
You
there's
know,
a common theme amongst a lot of people that have gone through their awakening experience, realizing that many of us have cheated death a number of times. And
Yeah.
here we are to,
I watched my brother get blown across a kitchen once because he forgot to light the oven. He turned the gas on in the oven, and it was like my uncle's kitchen. And I was just laying on the couch and I was watching him, and I was thinking, something's not right. And all of a sudden, poof, boom, what? He goes flying across the room, singed his eyebrows off and everything.
but he was okay.
He was okay. We both did that a few times. I think he kind of lived a charmed life too, up until he kept telling everybody the last 20 years he was alive that he was going to die by the time he was 50. He only missed it by 5 years. What you think of and what you put out in the universe, it comes back to you. So I'm thinking right now 105 is a nice round figure,
I like 120. I tell people I don't intend to die, man. I just don't. I'm not going to die. Fuck that.
Yeah. I love what Woody Allen said once. He said he didn't want to cheat death by reach immortality through his works. He wanted to become immortal through not dying.
Yeah.
Can you give me the white cord and plug it in over there?
Anyway, okay, I'm gonna turn off my camera now unless somebody else.
Oh no! Leave your camera on, because I turned mine off and I felt lonely. Leave it on.
Oh well.
Thank
Well,
you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Like Greg was.
Greg, it's Friday. I got to wear my red shirt because
Nice. I love it.
veteran got to have the until remember, everyone deployed every Friday wear a red shirt until everybody in the military finally gets to come home. And God, I hope it happens soon, like this year. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That's a good choice that you're wearing too.
My
Yeah.
Be quiet.
You got a red hat on.
Well, I see red on the sign right there. I mean, it's all good.
So if anyone wants to jump in at any time, I'm going to unmute everyone again. Occasionally I do that here
Well,
on
the only
Zoom.
thing I'd like to say, Greg, and you mentioned it, I don't know how common these things are, but I've had a lot of weird things happen in my life, a lot, since a very, very early age. I remember becoming aware of the things around me at a very early age. But third grade, I didn't make a lot of friends in my youth. I had one friend from third grade through high school. The rest I tagged on with my brother. But this friend I had, and I got in a lot of trouble. He was a little criminal genius. He was. It was incredible. But in third grade, we were in this abandoned house, and he took a 22 shell and held a match up to it till it went off. And it's my turn to do it. And I did it. I'm standing in front of it like this. And he made me move to the right. And when I did it, thank God he did, because the shell, it must have been the shell, took a tip of my finger off. And if I had still been standing there, it would have gone into my chest and my stomach. I was in third grade, for God's sakes. And I remember when I had kids and my daughter got third grade, I remember thinking, how in the hell is a third grader doing something that stupid? But a friend of mine possibly saved my life by making me move off to the right. But my weirdness started at an early age, And now I look forward to the weirdness, quite frankly. I expect it. Now I've gotten to the point where it's just a part of my life. And if it doesn't happen, then I think something's going wrong. You know, does that make sense? You know, because it never stopped. I mean,
Yeah. Once again, cheating death, you know. I was just talking to a lady. I was over at this local market called Detweiler's here in Sarasota. It's a local farmers market. I was talking to this one woman that works in the I don't know, supplement department there. I was looking into COQ, more COQ10 and stuff like that. And she was telling me about how a lot of people are there, what that she talks to there, have beaten and cheating life. They've had these, because I was telling her, you know, hey, I just had a heart attack last year. And she said, there's so many people that tell me about how they've beaten death, and here we are. So it makes you wonder if they get tired of trying to kill us because they can't, and here we are. You know, they just want to keep draining our batteries or something. But
so is it your contention that someone's trying to kill us? So I've wondered about that.
Well, if they're trying, they're not doing a good job, and part of it is, you know, I'm not afraid of death. You know, death doesn't scare me. Bring it on. I don't care.
I'm not afraid of death. I'm just not ready to go yet. I prefer not to. You know,
Exactly.
I kind of buy in. I mean, I know I've lived previously. I've lived previous lives. That's another thing. One of the most weirdest psychic things that ever happened to me was when I was a sophomore in high school. My dad was a full-time officer in the Army Guard, so he normally went to summer camp, and we didn't go on vacations much. Well, we finally went on one. And of course, where he would go to camp, the quartermaster school at Fort Lee was right next to the Petersburg battlefield. You can walk right through a gate to on the side of the post, and you're in the battlefield. And I came upon the Battle of the Crater, and I even wrote a paper about it that I got an A+ for from my English teacher. I used to write pretty good stuff in high school, and just for a moment, I was there. I know that I died at that battle. I know I was there. I mean, I could smell the gun smoke. I could hear the horses. I could hear the rounds, the people screaming. And it was a really bad battle. If you've ever seen the code, the Civil War thing that Renee Zellweger won her Oscar for. Anyway, it was based on the Battle of the Crater. Her lover survived that. The Union forces dug under the Confederate lines with they got miners from like New York and Pennsylvania, and they dug a huge tunnel under the Confederate lines, and then they packed it full of TNT. And up until I think Krakatoa exploded, it was the largest explosion ever on the earth. They could feel it in Washington, D.C. It broke every window in Richmond. But it blew a huge crater in the ground, and the Union troops poured in. The trouble is that they didn't have any ladders to pour out, and they were basically just slaughtered by the Confederates, all circling the crater, just shooting them as they were in the big hole, you know, that kind of thing. But anyway, I was there. I know I was there, and that's something I, you know, to this day I still kind of okay, because you read a lot of anecdotal evidence now about, there was a young kid, I believe, out in California just a couple of years ago who used to wake up in nightmares screaming. And it turns out that he was the reincarnation of a World War II fighter pilot who was shot down during a certain battle and basically shot down in flames. And this kid just would freak out because he thought he was burning up alive. And eventually his folks, researched it, and they found out, guess what? Yeah, it's true. This man did die then. They went out to the area of the battle, and he laid a wreath on the water, and the kid's nightmares ceased. So it's, it's real. I think it's real anyway.
It's interesting nonetheless. Real, unreal, who's to say? I mean, it's something you've seen and experienced, so it's real to you. And
I can't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately, but it's, look up some. I mean, all the news stories did something about it. Like all the networks did a story about it. Look up like young kid believes he's a World War II fighter pilot.
Yeah, I've
think
seen
it
those.
I think it was the Battle of Truk Atoll. I lived in the Republic of the Marshall Islands for a couple of years. I got to live out there halfway between Australia and Hawaii, and I did a lot. And they actually had, the Americans took that island during World War II, and they still had like the golf course on the island had a real bunker. It was a Japanese bunker from World War II. It had 2 big cannon on it. It was pretty cool. Anyway, enough from me. Sorry.
That's okay. No, no. It's
No,
funny you were
this
saying,
is-
did you ever see that
Exactly
movie?
what it's about, isn't it? Yeah.
When anyone says, have you ever seen, I can pretty much say no, because I don't watch a lot of movies unless it's time travel. Yeah. Or maybe some science fiction, but like Star Trek's, all those Star Trek movies, I might've watched the first 2. That's it. No. Yeah. So chances are, if you said, have you ever seen? No, I haven't. Funny though.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for sharing. And once again, we're going to open up the lines here. Anyone can feel free to jump in. If you ever have been maybe abducted or had a near-death experience, had visitation from extraterrestrials, whatever, feel free to tell us your unbelievable story, because we'll believe it. So
I had
if anyone
something
wants to
weird
jump in,
happen
feel free to jump in
2
right
nights
now.
ago. 2 nights ago, I had something really weird happen.
Okay.
Fell asleep at 11:30, and my husband's crashed next to me. The cats are crashed between us, and all of a sudden, I hear this voice saying, "It's coming soon. Get ready. It's coming faster and faster now. God this, God that." And I'm like, "What? Is going on?" Smacked my husband and said, "Hey, turn your phone off." And I thought, well, he's got a dumb phone. It's not his phone. Rolled my head over, and it's an old cassette. Greg, you'll know what I'm talking about. These old cassette clock radios that I haven't even used in 10 years. It's just there for the timer.
Wait, are you saying I'm old?
Pretty much
No.
what I heard.
Sorry. But
Old enough.
we're close in age, okay?
So I had this 78 RPM phonograph next to me, and no, continue, please. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
never had one of
So this is
those.
the Atrix.
So anyway, okay, I take it back. You're not old. You're as old as you feel, right?
Yeah.
So then look, and it's flashing 59, which means the sleep timer was set. And I'm like, well, what the hey? The radio doesn't even work on this. We can't change the dial. And it's on a dial way away that anything's ever been on. And it's going on saying, this is a message. Just know God's warning you. It's coming faster. And I'm thinking, oh man, the cat's hit it and turned it on. And the cats are crashed. My husband's crashed. And exactly midnight went off. And
Did
there
you
is no way anyone could suck around. And it was blinking at me. So
I would
I'm like,
start packing my shit and say, it's time to go, man. It's coming. No, I'm kidding.
well, I think what it's saying is just my interpretation is it's just coming faster. Things are moving faster is what I was getting out of it. That's what I was.
That's interesting. I love that, man. I love those. I love hearing that. That's awesome.
Who do you think
bizarre
gave
thing.
you that message?
Yeah, I love that.
That's the message that I was receiving.
Who gave that to you, though? Who do you think gave you that? What's that?
It was a radio station.
Wow.
It was a religious radio station.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
Like, what the heck is going on here?
Wow.
And it was exactly midnight.
How old are you?
64.
Okay.
I'll be 65. Yeah, so it was like, and
So
I
that radio hadn't been used in like 10 years, you had mentioned. And so who had originally had its station programmed to that station? Who listened to it way back 10 years ago?
Oh, no. It was changed from the station it was on. And the dial doesn't work.
Oh, okay. So it was
It's
changing.
been ours.
It can't change. Okay. All right. I
Yeah,
knew there was
fuck.
something.
Yeah, we've been married 37 years, so we bought it brand new. And they haven't made those for quite a while, I think. But it's like, what the heck? And it was a religious radio station going on and on and on. And finally I said, yeah, okay, I got it. It's coming and I'm ready. Let's go.
Hallelujah.
And then I turned
the number 59 was flashing. 59 minutes was flashing on there.
Yeah.
5 + 9 is 14. 1 + 4 is 5. 5 is the number of change. So I mean, everything happened for a reason, including that 59 flashing that you remembered.
Yeah, because it's never flashed before. It's never, and it hasn't done it since. Well, I turned the volume down now because it's like, man, I'd finally gotten to sleep and I'm like, now what? You know, it was bizarre.
It's
One
great.
of those cool things that happen all the time to us.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
So this is what it's all about, folks. You know, you're hearing these awesome stories here on N5D, and you know, you're not alone. We've all had these amazing stories, and each and every one that's listening right now has something important to share. So feel free to join us. I'm going to paste the URL in the chat room over on YouTube, so you can join us here. Get a break out of your introvertedness.
Another very
Most of
early
us are
memory.
introverts here.
Another very early memory I have was we lived in. My mom and dad were divorced. I know that because we were in a new house, and we were at another lady's house, and it was called the Housing Projects in my hometown. It was the poor part of town in a small mining town in northern Minnesota, and we're over there eating hot dogs, and I know I had at least a little bite out of the hot dog, but I went to bite the hot dog, and the entire wiener slid down my throat. And I'm like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. The entire thing went down my throat. It stopped, and I'm just staring, and it slipped right back into my hand or under the ground, just like that. It was that quick. And you know, I didn't have time to get scared. I never was scared, but it was just freaking bizarre. I think that there was 2 people watching me, my brother and this little girl, and I think she threw up. You know, because of the oddness of it.
I hate to say, but there's a joke in there that I'm not going to say it.
well, you know, I've heard that joke. I know
Yeah,
that joke.
yeah. The bottom line is that you're okay and you live to tell about it.
And it was not symbolic because I'm happily married to a female. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but you know. But no, it was just an odd thing that I've always remembered. But what I do know, when I had kids, I made damn sure I cut their hot dogs up. Every time they had a hot dog, I cut it up and they were young. And I made sure I made them chew their food. It made me paranoid later on, thinking how easy it was for a little kid to choke. So one good thing at least came out of it when I was a parent. But it was, you know, it's just a really early memory that was like, really, that could have killed me, you know, in a sense. It could have stuck down there, but it was weird.
Sometimes people, you know, I mean, I know other people have experienced this, but sometimes you might, you know, if you turn your head real quick, you might catch somebody standing in the corner of your eyes or something like that. You just turn your head and they disappear like that. And a lot of us have had those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
The people that I see I'll catch them a little bit longer than most people. So I can actually identify this person that I constantly see. And in my case, it's this older man. He's a short man too. He's only about maybe 5'3", 5'4", and
Does he have a hat on?
What's that?
Yes, he has a hat on, a fedora.
Yeah, he's wearing a fedora, and he's never negative. I don't feel anything bad or nefarious from him. He's just like hanging out, watching, you know, just following me around.
You want to hear something really weird about that? And I don't mean to interrupt, Greg. I really don't.
Oh, yeah, I'm not done, but go ahead.
No, you're right. And when you're finished, I got something to add to this. It's really freaking weird because it's just as weird. It's the same guy. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's maybe one of my guides or something. I'm not sure. But one time I was on a cruise with my girlfriend at the time, and she went to bed a little early. So I was out and about, and I came in maybe an hour or two later. And when I came into the bedroom on the cruise ship, and I had already doused the room and cleared all the negative energy, so I know there was nothing negative, but he was in there watching her sleep, kind of like guarding over her. And as I walked in, she must have had just fallen asleep because she was starting to lift out of her body. So I was not only watching him, this short man with the fedora, but also watching her come out of her body as she was about to astral travel. So, you know, these are the kind of things that we pay attention to. And, you know, if you guys have any kind of similar stories, jump aboard here and tell us about them. So go ahead, Doug.
Well, you know, I had a very similar story in so many ways. And I was roommates with a girl at the time, and she was my best friend. And I sat in a reclining chair, and if I looked to my right, I could look down the hallway to her bedroom. And I distinctly remember, this is years ago, mind you, I distinctly remember looking down that hallway and seeing a guy standing there, like the image of a guy. And he was a short guy. He had a fedora hat on, same kind of hat. And I'm thinking, I'd smoking pot at the time. I was thinking, oh, you're just seeing stuff, Doug. But I kept staring. I didn't feel any malevolence or evil, or I didn't feel anything. I just found it amusing. I found it, and I completely forgot about it or let it go. And I saw that dude another time after that, which is another story. All right. Completely one of those stories that was in the back of my mind. I never thought about it at all. Several years ago, I was driving down to Kansas City, or to Texas, actually. I like to drive at night. I was listening to Coast radio, and this lady on there was explaining or describing this man she had seen. And she started to describe the same exact guy that you were describing when I interrupted you, and that I saw. And I finished describing him in my mind before she did. And apparently there are people all over the world, they call him Hat Man. So apparently this is not a phenomenon that's new to a few of us. Hat Man, this guy with the hat and the fedora, has been seen by people all over. And I even looked up their website. They have a whole following, people believing in this stuff. It's really weird, yeah. And it was years after I'd seen this, and I saw these other people that have seen this same dude. She had described exactly what I saw. You know, it was bizarre. It was bizarre to the max. It still is to this. But they have this theory that Hat Man was evil. They really, they had all this dark stuff on there about Hat Man, and I never felt that at all. And maybe he only, you know, to me, I was ambivalent. I just thought it was me seeing stuff, you know.
Somebody on YouTube, T-Light's asking, is it the infamous Shadow Man? And number 2, Marta is asking, Men in Black.
I think Shadow Man and Hat Man are, if not the same, are very similar. So I'm not really clear. My memory is hazy because it's been a few years since it's happened that I looked it up. So I'm not sure. It could be Shadow Man has something to do with Hat Man, because I remember Shadow Man because of when I looked up Hat Man, if that makes sense, you know. But I really don't know. So do a web search, someone actually. Yeah, let's do it now. I forget that girl's name.
I might open up my refrigerator door, and when I shut it, he'll be standing there, and then boom.
I always thought he looked like
Like, what are we having?
I always thought he looked like Freddy Krueger.
Well,
I never felt.
I have something to
but I didn't see the mean Freddy Krueger, just what he looked like to me.
When I was a small child, when I was like 2 or 3 or 4, my folks, they told me when I was, you know, I was still in diapers anyway. They said that I came down with pneumonia, and one evening my temperature shot from like normal to like 103 within about 2 hours. So they rushed me to the emergency room, and what they told me is that I apparently passed away due to the pneumonia, and I was actually out and away and gone for a few minutes before the doctors around the table were able to bring me back. Okay. Well, I don't remember any of that, but I do remember that what happened was after I came off that table, I still remember, I mean, I was still in diapers. I remember being pushed down the hallway on a bumpy gurney, boom, 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 gurney. And as I was passing by just down the hallway, I looked over to the left, and there was a gurney there, and there was this guy, a dead guy, and I could tell he was dead. He was a black dude. He was an African American. He had on a brown leather coat. I mean, he was dressed, stylishly for, I guess, the early 60s, maybe, maybe around 1960 or so. But I knew he was dead because he had a switchblade in his chest, and I could see that. And I was freaking out because I'm thinking, who leaves a dead guy in the hallway for a little kid to see, And then just as I go past this guy, his eyes opened up.
Wow.
And then we hit the doors, bam, and the next thing I know, I'm being put into a tub of ice water. I mean, I remember watching the ice floating, and I remember thinking, I don't really remember much about it. I just remember watching the ice floating. And, I think you know, maybe I kind of went away for a little bit and came back because I got something to do here, you know, and that's why I'm here. And that's why maybe all these times when I've cheated, you know, my stupidity, putting myself in a bad situation. I got chased one night by a giant boar in Germany. And I mean,
You probably
on guard
deserve
duty,
that.
they told us don't shoot them with your M16 because the bullets will just bounce off their skulls and really piss them off. So when this thing starts chasing me one snowy night, and I'm dressed in every kind of wet, cold weather gear, and I got on these god awful boots you can't hardly move in, but I know I set a land speed record. And when I got to the top gate of the motor pool, I don't know if I went through it or I went over it, but I remember I was on the other side, and this damn boar was stomping and everything. And the sergeant told me after it went back down the hill, he told me, Hall, get back out there and get on your post. And I said, come on, Sarge, that pig will guard that place much better than I ever would. And I just walked in front for the rest of the night. I never went around and back where he was that first time. So anyway, another
That's
weird
funny.
story.
That's a funny story,
Sorry.
man. That's funny. You deserve that pig chasing you, though. He's the king in that area.
So I'm going to open up the, once again, unmute everybody here. And if somebody wants to jump in here on Zoom and tell us one of your stories, you're more than welcome to.
I will. Can you hear me?
Sure can. Hi, Sandy.
Okay. Hi. Sorry, I can't put my camera on because I'm in bed because of Ascension. I spend my life there, and that's why I couldn't be down there last night. I was really peeved about that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
and I had real problems getting on because I was on YouTube and it was just going around, and finally I saw the Zoom thing. So I missed totally your story, and so I apologize, but I've heard other people's. So I'm just going to say a good story because don't want to talk about my death stuff. So I'm going to change the subject, but it's a
bring
cool
it all
one.
on. We don't care.
Yeah, hopefully this will be really
got all
cool for
night.
people. Okay, well, so we now live in Florida for a while, but we're probably moving back to Colorado. But anyway,
How
for
old
a
are you?
while,
How old are you?
I'm also, I hate to say it, but I'm 63. I don't feel that way. I
Okay,
mean,
well, time
sometimes I
out.
feel
You can't call it Florida anymore. You have to call it Florida.
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 Once you hit 60, you got to call it Florida.
Florida. Okay.
Okay,
Well,
continue.
yeah, and I know both you, at least the two of you, you and well, it shows her name is Samsung Galaxy S7. I'm sorry, but anyway,
Susan.
yeah, I'll be. What is it?
Susan.
Susan. Okay, that's much better. Yeah, I'm in that group too. So anyway, okay, so we were back and we used to live in DuBois, Wyoming for a year. And I don't know if anyone knows where it is, but it's east of Jackson Hole. My husband does conservation work, and so he ended up with a job with Jackson Hole Land Trust. So we couldn't live in Jackson because we're not multimillionaires. So I had to live in DuBois, and it's a really cool place. Very, very, very isolated. And at the time I was working with an energy worker also that had just been to Isetti Ranch. And on the way, they took back roads and got lost, and it was a real mess. And she was actually starting to go into panic, and they were on a dirt road and they were high centered. And, they were already supposed to be at Isetti, but because of that, when she started going into panic, she ended up having this big face come in front of her, and it was an actual Sasquatch face. And Isetti is known for ETs of all sorts, and they have a Sasquatch guy there. I can't think of his name, doesn't matter, but anyway, he sort of took her under her wings when they finally got there the next day. But this face was a true Sasquatch face, but she said, you'll be protected. And her name, she gave her name, and it was Aithama. And I'll leave that story at that for the moment. Then in Du Bois, when I was having challenges one day, she was talking to me, and Aithama was coming through, and she said, Aithama is going to start working with you. And in Du Bois, there's a river. It's quite an amazing, magical river, it turns out. The headwaters are like 10 miles up the road from Du Bois, called the Wind River. And it ends up down in the Gulf of Mexico. That I just am now realizing that. Wow. Okay. So anyway, Aithama, I was just going through heck, and I'm laying in bed, as I spend a lot of my life releasing old energies that God knows I never even knew I had. I thought I was a nice person, but it turns out I'm doing all my ascension in this lifetime, because I haven't been allowed to do it until this life. It's just bizarrola beyond bizarrola. So I'm going through what all these other people have done in all these other lives all at once. And you don't want to do it that way, believe me. So I'm laying in bed, screaming my head off, knowing what's happening, because I can test stuff. I am, kind of like a medical intuitive. Well, I did until I started into this, and now I don't have time. I can't work on other people. Anyway, I'm laying in bed, and this big bouncing thing starts on the bed next to me. Literally, if I had my camera on, it would be the size of like a balloon. You could think of it that way. And it was bouncing up and down. I mean, I actually looked over on the bed. I'm like, who the heck came into the room when I wasn't paying attention? And the bed wasn't doing anything. But what I clearly got was that it was Aithama, and that was her heart. And that makes sense that it would be that big, But I didn't think of all of that at the time, because I kind of like, when you're in the middle of all this work, you're kind of like keeping a quarter of one nostril above the water line. So you only get parts and pieces, but I clearly got that. So after that, then she did that a couple other times, and she was protecting me, and I could feel, I think it was that day, like angel wings come around me, literally felt them, which doesn't fit with Sasquatches in your mind, but it, when you put the whole picture together, it's really cool. So then she started working with me, and she wanted me to start communicating with the Sasquatches that were by the Wind River. Except I didn't know that at the time. I go down to the river, which was just across the street from, we actually lived in a cabin that was right at the Wind River, but she would not let me cross the river. Well, okay, I have to back up just one tad. One day, this is the whole reason it came up. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I'm telling it not in order, but so the day that I was talking to Beth about this, I said, I got to tell you about this thing that happened. I had been walking down at the river, and I looked across the river, and I saw this thing that was the color of like a moose or a bear, and they come through Du Bois, but it didn't move like that. And it was like, I just kept, and I hadn't heard about Sasquatches, I knew they existed, but Beth hadn't had her conversation with me about Aithama or anything about Sasquatches. So out of the blue. So I'm trying to, in my 3D mind, think of what the heck this thing is that's right by the river. It looked like it was maybe getting water out of the river, but it just didn't fit all the pictures that I came up with in my mind. And all of a sudden it went up and turned, and until then I thought, well, it has to be a moose. It's too small it's too big for a bear. But then when it turned and came up, I went, wait a minute, that's not a moose. But that's all that I could rack it up to. So then Beth calls with the story of Aithama. I tell her that story, and she hooked into it right away, and she said that absolutely was a Sasquatch. And then Aethema came with helping me in the bed that day, and then she wanted to get me to meet these Sasquatches, but she wouldn't let me go across the river, which is where they were. They weren't on the town side, they were on the other side, and she wouldn't let me go across until I was as clear as I could be, which was a real trick. But so it was like a process, and every day I get closer, but I never got to hook up with them. And then we moved to, how do you say it?
Florida.
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 Okay. So we ended up in Melrose because I found this new job for Butch because I couldn't stand being so isolated with what I was going through in Du Bois. So Melrose, I don't know if, I don't know. Anyway, it's outside Gainesville. It's on the east side of Gainesville, and it's real. The place that we ended up with has beautiful oak trees. It was just 5 acres, but like 3.5 of it are in the lake. And so there was, and then across the road, it was just all trees, thick trees. And all the way around the lake, it was basically thick trees. It was really a cool place. So I'm out there one day, and I had to have a lady stay with me when Butch would go away because I've been going through panic and anxiety unbelievably with this work. So I'm out there and I'm watering the garden that I was trying to grow, not being a Floridian, and I'm sorry if I said it wrong. I don't know anything. I did horrible with gardening down here. But anyway, so I'm standing there and I'm all grumpy going through all my work, like, I'm so tired of this and blah, And so I'm not looking up to the lake, and I'm watering, my head's way down, and I mean, literally, I never looked up. That's not like me, but that's what I was doing this day. So all of a sudden, I put my head up, and right in front of me, and the lake was like, I don't know, 300 feet out from our house, very close. Right in front of me, out in the lilies, which was like 100 feet out into the lake, there's this kayak. And this lady, we'll call her a feminine presence, the kayak was turned away from me. So I'm looking at the back of the kayak. And this feminine presence was looking straight at me. So her body, the top of her body was 180 degrees turned around, looking straight at me. Her legs are going the other way. I mean, unless you don't. Oh, it was just crazy. Anyway, she's sitting there, and she looked like, all I can say is like a Native American type body build, real thick, not being judgmental, but just real thick. She wasn't fat, but she was thick, like sumo wrestler kind of thick, dark black hair and really dark skin. And she had this brilliant orange t-shirt on, and her hand was up in the air like a wave, not moving one lick. And as soon as I looked up, that's not when her hand came up. It was already up. I look up, her hand is up. She's looking straight at me, eyeball to eyeball. She was just waiting for me to raise my head. And then her hand shook like hi, and she gave me this big smile. And I just went, huh? I was like, okay, hi. I had never seen anyone kayak on this lake. No one except us, no one. And we'd been there like months. So I, smile and wave my hand. All of a sudden, she turns the top of her body back around. She goes to the right in this lake. Well, that goes nowhere. That goes into the trees, and it ends up very quickly in deep grass. The lake is real shallow. There's grass and it ends. There's no houses back there. There's no nothing. And I'm like, what just happened here? So I come back in the house, and my friend that was staying with me was sitting out in the Florida room. And I'm like, and she's not spiritual whatsoever and wants nothing to do with it, which was perfect, because I come back in and I'm like, did you just see that? And she said, yeah, there was a kayak out there. And I said, did you see it kayak in? And she said, no. And I said, well, neither did I. And she, you could see the whole, I mean, she had to kayak in and around, but she had been looking at it and she didn't see it. So she just appeared. And then I started going into my intuitive mode and figured out the whole thing. And in fact, her name is Tsushima, and she is my Sasquatch now. And she was just waiting to introduce herself. And Beth had told me in DuBois that when I came down here, that there would be a Sasquatch for me, like my Sasquatch kind of thing. And she's it. And it's just, I mean, for a non-spiritual, so 3D person to see the same thing that I saw, I asked her to, say what she looked like to her, and it was exactly the same thing as I saw. And that was like, oh, thank God, because so many of my things have just been me. And I'm like, you do absolutely start thinking you're going crazy. And well, most of the time I don't think I know I am. But that was really cool. And then since we've moved down here to, or now, well, we're on Longboat right now, but we're going back to Anna Maria for a little while, and then we're going back to Colorado. She has been with me through this whole time. She can't hide down here at Anna Maria. There's no trees or, I mean, there are trees, but it's not enough for a Sasquatch. So the only time that she ever went outside with us, she stays in spirit form. The only time she has gone outside when we were at Anna Maria was at night. I would go down to the pier and she would come down there and walk with me. But I have felt her the same way in the bed. Sometimes when I'm at my worst, I'll feel this big, old, heavy weight. And I mean, literally the bed moves still the same way as it did with Aithama. And Butch has been going back and forth to Colorado to get our new old house ready. And when he went to Colorado, she went too, because we have trees there, and she's so excited to go back to Colorado. And I'll leave it at that. But she can only, like here at Longboat, it was cool. One night I went out to the beach, which is this 2 months we've spent like beachside here, and we have sea oats and short mangroves between us. And one night I went out at like 5 or 6, and she went out, and I kept getting told, don't go back in. You can't go back in yet. You can't go back in. And finally I got, okay, now it's time. And it's because she went out and played. She got to play in the sea oats and be outside instead of inside, which is so not Sasquatchy at all to be inside. But that's my Sasquatch story, and I'm sticking to it. And she's just, it turns out she's a sister she was a sister I was actually supposed to have. I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but I figure none of this really makes sense to a 3D mind anymore, but that's the truth. And she's just been wonderful. So that I'll leave it at that one story, which was plenty long.
You should bring her to the drum circle. She'd fit right in there.
Oh, she'd love that. If you'll
Well,
just
have all these experiences helped with your anxiety and stuff? Because hopefully that's the goal, right?
Well, truth, yes and no. There have been other presences that have come in that I know. I mean, I've got a million people on my team. I call them people, a million spirits. But here in my room with me, which is pretty much where I spend my time, and it drives me nuts. I'm like, I live in paradise and I'm in my bedroom. But they do help. Butch's mom, I'm just realizing this is on YouTube. So let's see. Um, she has actually come in. We've been driving down the road, like in the middle of Wyoming or middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden, her first contact with me, I'm not a perfume person. I only worked when I was in college just for money at the fragrance and jewelry department of Montgomery Ward's for just 3 or 4 months. But other than that, I don't wear perfume. I do essential oils and all the holistic stuff. And I mean, instantly it came to my mind. I looked at Butch and he was driving. I'm like, did you just smell that? And it stayed with us. And he's like, yeah, I smell a perfume. And I said, that's Estee Lauder. And don't ask me why I knew why it was Estee Lauder, but I don't know. And he said, oh my God, that's my mom's perfume. And since then, she'll come in different ways. She used to smoke. So sometimes we'll be like, again, out in the middle of God knows where, in North Dakota or South Dakota or wherever. We've been moving and driving a lot. And we'll smell smoke. And it's her. It was on Mother's Day that day. So she just wanted to come in and say hi to everybody. But she has come to me in the bed also. And with her angel now. And so, yeah, it does help me mentally and emotionally. But I'll tell you, I've been so far beyond my last rope. It isn't funny. And I keep thinking, with what everybody is saying about 2020, and I do see little changes that I'm getting better. And God knows every single piece of work that's happened in this last 4 years, I write it down, and nothing is ever the same. I mean, nothing. So I know that I'm releasing and clearing, but again, how the heck can one person? I'm releasing for the collective also, but I release mostly for me and ancestry and DNA and junk DNA, which is such a crock. It's not junk at all. It's our soul stream. But it does help me, and I'll take all the help I can get because I have been so isolated. So Greg, when you do your next get together, I just need to know more ahead, and if I can get there, I will. But since April 2nd, I haven't been able to walk because, I can walk.
It's
but my head...
it's February 8th.
Oh, perfect. February 8th. What time?
The time hasn't been decided yet, but I'll make a post on in 5D on my Facebook page, as well as in Patreon.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll write on my calendar. I wrote it down already. I just, I want to be there. I really, really, really need, I really appreciate that I got on with this tonight, and that you had this.
Bring your Sasquatch friend with you.
She comes with me. She sticks to my side. I just don't ever know it unless I check in, but I'll bring her.
All right. Thank
you
you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. So I'm going to once again unmute the room. And if anyone in the room has a story they'd like to share with us, you're more than welcome to jump right in right now. I want to share something. If no one's jumping in, I want to share something real quick. This is an article on N5D called Third Eye Mirror Meditation. What faces will you see? And I wouldn't recommend this to a beginner. This is something you better be at least, mostly advanced. And I'd recommend checking this video out, what to do before you meditate. Very important things on there to see. But this third eye mirror meditation is really fascinating because what you do is you're looking into the mirror, and the lights are out, and you'll have a candle in front of you, a mirror in front of that. And you're just gazing at your third eye. And what you want to do is relax your vision, relax your eyes, and just stare. And what will happen is you'll start to see yourself and all the other aspects of you meld in and out. You'll see yourself as an old man, a young girl, old lady, young child, back and forth, different nationalities and ethnicities as well. It's not just,
Should you be
here I am
naked
as
when you do
this
this?
old white man, right now, but
Should you be naked when you do this?
what's that?
Should you be naked when you do this? Nude? I'm asking seriously. I know
No,
that sounds
I
crazy.
don't think
but-
that matters, honestly. You could be, I guess. I don't think I ever was.
Oh, if
but-
you want to be in tune with everything around you, just
Right.
bear everything, right?
Right.
Open
And
that
like I
third
said,
eye
everything that
completely.
you need to know is in that article on N5D. And I'll put a link below in the more info section on YouTube. And as well as I'll do another article on N5D about this session that we're having tonight. So I'll leave the link there as well. But so I see myself going through all these different faces and different male, female, old, young, different ethnicities and so on and so forth. When all of a sudden I see this entity that had a huge head, big red eyes, fangs on it like that, big pointy fangs. It's just staring at me, like trying to intimidate me. And
Wow.
as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, nothing surprises me. And that didn't surprise me either. So I just politely asked, or said, "You're not welcome here. Please leave immediately." In retrospect, though, what I should have said was, "Who are you? How can I help you?" So
Mhm.
I wish I had done that. In retrospect, I didn't. Now
Well,
another.
I always saw, Greg, if I saw that Hat Man again, I would say that very same thing. What's going on, Hat Man? Why are you showing up? What's
Right.
going on? Yeah, share with me. What's up? What's up? What can I help you with? Or what are you looking at me for? Right. So, I always thought that same thing, but I haven't seen the dude since. So, but yeah. Because I've seen those visions too of devil faces leering at me, and I'm like, what? I'm not. You're trying to frighten me. What? What's even the point of that? It makes no sense. Why would you be afraid of that? But that seemed to be what they were aiming at. Maybe it was me though. I guess it's all personal for each person.
It
when
would
they see
be
that
pretty subjective. I think, especially with this third eye mirror meditation, you're going to see things that.
Well, I'm going to try that, man. I'm going to do it new too. Just what the hell.
So another time when I was doing that, I'm watching myself go through different aspects of myself, and all of a sudden, this huge orange orb is just hovering over my shoulder. And it was the size probably of a large grapefruit, and it's just hovering right there. So it was really cool. I didn't get any feeling specifically who it might have been, but it was friendly, it was benevolent, and it wasn't there to hurt me or harm me. So my moral of the story, I guess, so to speak, is that if you do this third eye mirror meditation and you see something that could potentially scare other people, don't worry about it.
Looking forward to
Can't
it.
hurt you, and make sure that you ask that entity, why are you here? Is there anything I can do to help you? Or, are you lost? Are you trying to make contact? Whatever it is that you're guided to do to help that entity. So.
All right. Well, that reminds me of the most frightening thing that's ever happened to me as a youth, and it frightened me at the time. It scared the living crap out of me. In fact, I think it turned me off to drugs. So in hindsight, I'm thankful that I never did drugs after that, except smoking marijuana, because I don't think that's doing drugs. But I digress. Anyway, at a young age, 7th grade, we started sniffing gasoline, and twice, I had several different weird things happen, but twice the same exact thing happened. The first time, all I saw were heads. Everything was dark. Complete darkness, everything. And I saw heads, and they're coming at me, and they're just heads, and they're coming at me, and they're clicking, click, 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 click. And that's all I saw. That was it. All right. The first time it happened, I came out of it, and I kind of swore I wasn't going to do that in the game, because it scared the shit out of me. But I got too close one time, pretending. I pretended a lot around my friends so I wouldn't seem like I wasn't doing it. And I got too close, And it happened again. Click, 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 the heads. And I came out of that one screaming. And suffice to say, I never sniffed gasoline again, but it was bizarre. But over the years, I have come to realize what those heads symbolized for me in my life. I've come to see what they mean, you know, but it was bizarre. It scared the shit out of me. I was paranoid. About a month after that, I had to have gas at the dentist. They had to put that gas on me to do some dental work, and I freaked out. They put that thing over my mouth, and I'm thinking, I freaked. I felt so bad for that dentist and his assistants, because it was the most horrible hour they must have ever spent in their lives, because I was just fidgeting and fighting everything they were trying to do. They could keep that fucking gas away from me, man. You know? Can't deal with those heads, man. You know, it was bizarre. And that was at a very young age, well, 7th to 9th grade, somewhere there. Yeah. But for some reason, something you said, Greg, reminded me of that. Well, the thing in the mirror, the weird shit. So I've seen weird shit. I've seen weird shit. And now that I'm older with this open mind, it doesn't frighten me like it did. Now it fascinates me. Like, what? Explain things to me, because I don't know what are you trying to show me for? Like that Hat Man dude. What? Like, what are you looking at me for? You know? What do you come to visit me for? What's going on? You know?
So we've got the room unmuted. If anyone wants to jump in and join us and tell us what your experience is, can you believe this happened to me? Feel free to jump right in.
I get the feeling that these hat men or whatever are watchers.
Well,
What
they're
are they
voyeurs, I think of them, you know, voyeurs. Because there was some emotional stuff going on with my roommate and I at the time. So maybe they're like emotional spirits that come to when things are tense between people. You know, and I'm speculating here just off the top of my head. But maybe that's what they do. When they detect something like tension, they show up to go, what's going on here? Maybe they're energy suckers or something, or givers. I don't know. I didn't feel anything being given to me, but nothing being pulled from me either. So yeah, it was weird. Yeah. But that was an interesting point. That's all I meant to say.
What are the watchers watching?
Us,
Why?
seeing how
To
far
what
we're
end?
getting, where
To
how
what end?
far we're getting, where we're going. You know, that's what I'm getting, because I have them too.
Yeah.
That's what I get too, Susan.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
when I did this research on this Hat Man, because I wouldn't say it freaked me out. It surprised me. It was like years and years, like 15 years or more after I'd even seen this guy, I started hearing this lady describe it. So a long time had passed. Apparently between then and now, a lot of people have been seeing this guy, and that intrigued me. You know, that got my interest up. So I looked it up afterwards. And there's a lot of people that said they felt evil intent from this. And believe me, I don't put a lot of merit to what people think they feel and think like that. But there's more than 100. So there might be something to it too. I don't know. You know, so maybe it comes and sees if there's someone worth fucking with, they'll stay and fuck with you. But if they see people that are grounded, they won't. You know, and maybe that's what that watcher does. That's what I was thinking, you know. And but we don't know it. And to what end would they sit and watch us? They're either going to give or take. Otherwise, what are they getting out of it? What's the end? To what end?
They do take.
I don't know. It's weird.
On
I don't know.
YouTube, there's Sacred Health that is saying guardian spirits of the light and dark paths. They help to guide your path, put things in your way. That's interesting. Okay. Ellie, welcome to our chat.
Hello?
Yeah, I see we have new people here. Would you like to join in?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us. Talk to us.
Spotlight.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello from Ireland, everyone.
Oh gosh,
Hi.
what time is it there?
Oh, hi.
Oh, it's late. It's 1:20.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Wow.
Mm.
So you're going to tell us a bedtime story?
You guys are spooking me out with all these stories.
Yeah, do one of those third eye mirror meditations and then go to sleep.
No, not a chance. Not a hope. Never sleep. I've had enough of these stories.
So what do you have for us?
Oh my goodness, loads. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all these chats. They're absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Completely amazing. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah. It's just great to hear everyone else's story and know that, you know, people are going through the same shit as you.
Yeah,
Isn't it
It's
great?
unreal.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Totally. Yeah, but yeah, I've had a load of experiences in my life as well. And speaking about the hat guy, my mother had an experience with him.
This guy gets around, man.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. But I had no idea who he was for ages and ages and ages. And it happened when I was a baby. Apparently, my mother and my brother and I were in a hotel. And she was walking down the stairs of this hotel. It was a big sweeping staircase. And this man just appeared beside her and put his hand on my brother and his head and said, I know a little boy like that and he's going to be with me very shortly. Now, my brother died then shortly after that. So my mum keeps telling that story, but she didn't feel scared of him. She said he was dressed like in old time clothes with a big hat and like a big black coat. And but she didn't feel scared of him. But my brother died shortly after that. So that story always stuck with me. And then a few years later, I was kind of researching stuff and came across the Hat Man. I thought, oh my God, that's him.
Amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
So yeah, I know. So
Also,
I
now
don't
that
know.
makes me wonder if me and my roommate was supposed to die that night or possibly going to die that night, because maybe why else would he show up? That's interesting. That's just an interesting thought. I didn't mean to
I don't
interrupt.
think
I'm sorry.
the
No.
Hat Man's the, I
Grim
don't know,
Reaper?
the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
He wasn't standing there with his fedora and a
I
sit.
know, but
No.
the thought
ready to
occurred.
cut my
The
head
thought
off.
occurred. That's all.
Yeah, but yeah, it's strange because she told the story and because
That's
of what
fascinating.
happened shortly after. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't either, and that's fascinating, Ali. That's absolutely fascinating because I had never heard of the Hat Man for years after I had thing to do.
Yeah.
And I did refer to him as Freddy Krueger earlier, but I think back now, the second time I saw him, he looked like Freddy Krueger. The first time he looked like Jimmy Durante or my grandfather. I remember having both those thoughts the first time. That old time look with Jimmy Durante with that kind of nose, and then I thought of my grandpa because he had that kind of thing. But the second time he reminded me of Freddy Krueger, which was kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, obviously I don't remember, but my mom described him as she thought maybe he was like a great grandfather or something like that. He was dressed in that kind of garb. I'm not sure. Yeah. But who knows?
Exactly. That's so weird.
Cool.
There's
Thank
all
you for
sorts of
saying
weird
that.
things floating
That's
around
so
us.
weird, yeah.
Yeah, I know. But
Because I hadn't thought about Hat Man since I thought about Hat Man last time, which has been a couple
I know,
of
yeah.
yeah.
But it's strange, okay? Because I just all of a sudden it just struck me. Oh, that's what she was talking about. I'm sure of it.
Do you have
Isn't
any
that
more
weird?
stories?
Pardon?
Do you have any more stories you would like to share?
Well, I
Like
was
your
kind of
stories.
listening about your awakening. How you spiritually awakened. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, I think I was awake from very early on because my first experience was as a little girl thinking, hey, something's wrong here. I don't belong here. Something is very wrong. And, I got a bit older and I started reading fairy tales. I was absolutely fascinated by stories of fairies and changelings, where the fairies would come and they'd swap a baby in the crib, put one of their own in the crib and take out a human baby. And I thought, yay, that's me. I've been swapped. And, that at night I would always have huge nightmares, and people would visit, and I think I blocked them out until much later on. So I don't know if
Valley, that's
anybody
cool.
had those kind of experiences.
Oh yeah, I thought from day one I didn't belong here. I didn't understand what I was doing here. I saw what was going on, and no one was responding to the truth of the situation. They were reacting to shit that didn't matter. I didn't understand what was going on, and I thought I was the one at fault. It's like, wow, no, just don't do this, and this will happen. And I'm talking from an early age, and it confused the shit out of me.
I have to chip in here. I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up in Alabama, and my entire life I've had what I hear as a Southern accent, but everybody else in my family talk like this. And I mean, I had people come up to me when I was growing up. Where are you from, boy? Here. You don't sound like you're from here. And I kind of felt like I was an alien in my family sometimes, like I just kind of snuck in somehow. I didn't really belong here. So that's my experience anyway.
Yeah. And then actually, I don't know if anybody's heard about this, the birth bump, where you, instead of being born into the soul or the body you were meant to be born into, somebody comes along and bumps you out and puts you in a different family.
Yeah.
So either I'm convinced either I'm a changeling or I was birth bumped.
Here's what I take on this, and I'm not disregarding any of that. If that did happen to me, for example, I said, fuck you. I did it myself anyway in this life. I did fine in this life. I'm doing fine. So,
yeah.
But I thought of that too. It's just, and you spend so much time waiting for the noise to stop and the people to settle down into unity, that it gets heavy, Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that, because I was born into a situation, because I live in the north of Ireland. So we had a civil war here for about 30 years. So I was born into that. So all that heavy energy definitely affected a whole generation. In fact, we call ourselves the lost generation, because we grew up with bombs and people getting shot. And, you go to school one day and then the next day your school friend wouldn't be there, or their father had been killed. So, I think that had a huge effect on this particular part of Ireland, as opposed to the... Yeah, for sure.
Well, I don't think it was just Ireland. I think it was the entire world. I mean, I remember watching that Civil War and how horrible it was, family fighting their neighbors and bombing innocent people just because they lived on a different street or something like that, and
all in the name of religion.
Catholic is outrageous.
Yeah, it was totally crazy. Yeah, I mean, you couldn't go to the cinema. If you went to visit the cinema or the movies, as you guys call it, you'd be in there for 5 minutes. Next thing, everybody out, bomb scare, away you go.
Oh God.
So how do you expect to sleep tonight with all this talk of bombings and stuff like that? And
that doesn't bother me. I slept.
Oh no, at that age, at that age, especially.
They want us to worry about what we have no control over.
Yeah.
They want us to worry about this. They want us to worry about all the bombings and all the terrorists and the races and the North versus the South and the East versus the West. And I mean, that's how they kind of keep the power going, the cabal, the bad guys, the black hats, I call them, the ones that are trying to stop us.
All we're doing is reminiscing tonight, though. All we're doing is reminiscing. So,
and, they're trying to do that to divide us, but I really think more and more people are waking up to what's going on, I mean, they really are. And I had to quit watching the news, basically. I just don't want to watch all that negativity and all that negative energy. I check maybe 1 or 2 web pages a day, but I've even had to back off of Facebook because I just don't want to get drawn into any arguments with people I don't know anymore. I mean, why bother?
That's why I don't go on Twitter very often. I go on, but not as often as Facebook seems to be more spiritual. Twitter is more political.
Well, I mean, at least I got ahead at the Facebook. That's where I found N5D. I was, you showed up on my feed one day, dude, and I've been following you ever since. That was my awakening actually happened in 2014. So, you know, it's been 6 years now. Woohoo, you know.
Greg's gonna think I'm a stalker because this is my third time this week, and I just joined on Tuesday. So this is my first 3 were this week. So he's gonna think I'm a stalker because I'm here every night.
Are you stalking me?
Yeah, I am, man.
So we have more people here, and everybody is unmuted right now. So we have some new people. If you want to join in, feel free to jump in. Tell us, can you believe this happened to me and what it is? Jump in.
Hello, family.
Who is that? Sam. Sam, welcome.
Hey, Sam. Hey.
Hi, Sam.
Good to see you all.
What you got for us?
I got a lot, but I'll tell you a short story. When I was 7, this when I was living in Cambodia during wartime. But because everybody tells story about ghosts, I became afraid, but at the same time, I was challenged and curious. So usually my mom, sorry to say this, but when I have to go to the bathroom, I had to ask my mom to take me to the bathroom because I was scared of ghosts. Sometime I wake up at night, and then when she saw me, I saw her, I thought it was a ghost. I was screaming. But this one time I was at the age of 7, and my mom took me outside because I had to go to the bathroom. And then I saw a spirit. I thought it was a ghost at the time until now that I know better. It was either my higher self or spiritual try to contact me before I came to America. So as he's walking slowly towards me, I got scared and I ran off. But it wasn't look like intimidating anything. It was just gentle soul spirit walking towards me, slowly. So I guess they had a message for me before I came to America, but I didn't get to find out because I was scared.
Good thing you didn't let him touch your
That
hand.
was one short. No, I ran off before he came close.
Did you feel like there was something nefarious or dark about him, or were you kind of like?
No, it was feel like a gentle soul, and it was feel peaceful,
But you ran off. You did run off. You didn't stand there.
I ran off.
Something told you to run off, and I respect that more than I would have respected standing
Yeah,
there.
always listen to your gut.
Yeah, you ran off, and that's what you should have done at that age. And I think that was the best move you could have made.
Whatever message this gentle soul probably had to pass on to you, it came some other way. It came through a dream, or it came through a friend you met, or somebody like that.
When you were ready for it.
Yeah, when
you were ready for it, not like a scary guy coming out of the
appeared.
dark. Right. So good for you, Sam, for moving on. Seriously.
I'm curious
That's
though.
amazing. Yeah.
Has that entity visited you since you came here to the States?
No, not at all. But I had dark entity visit me that was pitch black, like 6-7 foot tall, and stood in front of my bedroom, and then disappear. And then one time I thought I saw Jesus 1 or 2 seconds, then disappear. That's when I pray really hard to see Jesus was real or not.
What year did you come here?
I came here September 17, 1983.
So you've acclimated quite well. Have you ever gone back to visit?
I went back in 2008. That was a really awakening for me to see. It's a big change, but because of the poverty over there, that was hard to bear,
On YouTube, Jennifer Perez is saying that she likes your background. I do too.
I do too. I respect the heck out of it.
I like to share those stories that when I was back there, but it was pretty gruesome though for sure. Because I'm a scary person, but I have courage somehow. I'm really scared things, and
You and Ali have a
so
lot in
curious.
common.
Everything I see, I tend to investigate. Sorry?
You and Ali have a lot in common because most of us Americans have never seen the horrors you guys have. Never even come close. Most of us. So
I guess I didn't have a choice. My soul chose to
you were there,
have
right?
me
Right.
to have all this experience.
And you're here now, and
And-
that's what matters, right?
Right.
So thank you. Wow.
I'm glad to be sharing.
Thanks for your story, because I mean that's what I've learned is that you got to speak your truth. You know, you can't be unauthentic. I mean, don't try to have like a public face and a private face. Everybody just needs to wear one face and just be themselves. You know, and thanks for sharing your story. That
Yeah.
especially considering where you came from, because you know, I'm
This
62. I remember when Cambodia, what was going on there and everything. And yes, it's a blessing that you're here and you're here with us, and we're truly blessed.
I think it meant to be shared for this time for my soul to experience all this life. Because I remember the last life before I was born, 1969, I was an American soldier. And then somehow my soul chose to experience over there more turmoil.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
And
you're perfectly situated to meld into society then, and help your countrymen. You know, you're perfectly situated. Yes. Yeah. You got half of everything.
I guess
That's
so.
perfect. Well, good.
I want to thank you.
I guess my soul want to experience it all.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah,
with
thanks.
us. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you for letting me.
My pleasure.
Share more,
My pleasure,
man.
Sam. And I'm seeing we're picking up more people in the room, so I'm going to unmute the room again. And if you want to jump in, if you have a cool story you want to tell us about, you know, we've been talking about all sorts of different topics tonight, but you know, if you've ever had an out of body experience, perhaps a near-death experience, abduction, ghosts, you know, seeing a ghost or something like that, something along those lines, visions of the future, you know, stuff like that. Jump on in, anything, whatever it is. Can you believe this happened to me? Here's your chance right now. So the floor is yours. The room is unmuted. And if you haven't spoken yet, here's your chance. Jump on. The sound of crickets.
Hey,
Come on, don't be shy. I've got 50 million things I could say, but I don't want to dominate the screen either. I mean, yeah, I'm more than willing to sit here patiently waiting for anyone. But
Hello, Greg.
Hi, Mary. Welcome back.
Thanks. I unfortunately couldn't get here until about 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, and missed a lot. And hopefully I'll catch it on the recap.
Yep.
I don't have any super spectacular stories other than
Sure you
that.
do.
Liar.
Well, other than what I talked about, but I did have what I think was a UFO story. And I don't know for sure. I was and having technical difficulties, so I hope you can hear me. I couldn't get my video to work, my camera.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. I was coming home from work and I had my two daughters in the back seat of my car. I was driving home and I looked up and we could see in the sky there was something there. And I said, "What is that?" And the next thing I knew, I was driving into my garage. Like my mind had blanked out, and it was the point where I was at the garage door and I actually hit the edge of the garage when I woke up, whatever happened. But,
did you experience a time loss? I mean,
yeah, but nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. I can't tell you how. It was not hours. It was a short period of time. It wasn't a long period of time, but it was bizarre. It's like, what the heck happened? Why? And the fact that I woke up just as I was going to enter the garage, it was like, might have been like a 2-minute drive from where I was and to where I was going into the garage. So it wasn't forever. I do remember that, but nothing spooky about it other than what happened. You know, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. I did want to talk about one thing that happened, and it ties in with Paul's conversation the other day about children speaking light language. I don't know if I spoke light language, but I have a very clear memory of being, I was 2 years old. I know exactly I was 2 years old. And my grandmother had died. And my mother and father left me and my sister with a sitter, which they never did. We did not get sitters. That just didn't happen. But the reason I know I was 2 is because of that occasion. That was like one of the few occasions. And I was in my neighbor's house, and my sister had just been born. She was very, very young, like 3 months old. And my neighbor was changing her diaper, and she was washing her leg. And my sister has a big brown birthmark on her upper thigh, right? And the woman was trying to wash it, like I thought she was trying to wash it off. And I kept talking to her, and I don't know what language I was using, but I kept talking to her and telling her, you can't clean that off. That's her birthmark. It came with her. I don't know if that was my exact words, but I had this distinct memory of being 100% intelligent and capable of speech. But it was unintelligible. I mean, she could not understand what I was saying at all. But that is such an indelible memory that it was like, I think that children are born fully able to communicate. They just can't yet communicate in
Express it
language.
the right way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Interesting, if nothing else.
Now, when you were trying to communicate that to her, did she eventually stop? Maybe your intentions were enough at that age, even though she couldn't understand you, just your intentions were enough to make it stop.
Right. I was actually pulling on her skirt. And when she wasn't answering me, I started pulling on her skirt and repeating it over and over again. And then she kind of stopped, and then she kind of looked at me, and then she went back and then finished diapering, you know. Mm-hmm. But that's the only time I remember that happening. But it's pretty convincing that that I can remember trying the difficulty I was having communicating.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Awesome. Cool. Well,
that's about it.
Thank you for sharing, Mary.
You're welcome, as usual.
Do you think maybe babies are born with telepath? They're born telepathic, and we just are not picking up on it? That they're remembering that they're telepathic?
I can't speak to that, to being telepathic. The only thing that I got from that is that they are fully knowledgeable until a certain point where it's forgotten. Either that, or a memory thing slipped through, or one of the things that was supposed to be wiped from me didn't get wiped. I don't know. That's the only real occasion of that, though. But I don't think I could have been telepathic, but I don't have evidence of that at all.
I guess I just mean babies in general. Maybe they're telepathic, and because like my grandson was like definitely communicating hours after he was born to me, but I wasn't quite picking it up. So I just wonder if we're not getting it and they're sending it, and then they kind of lose it in the way.
Yes. I don't know about telepathically, but when they babble, I mean, after that, when I got older, every time I'd see a baby, I was convinced they were telling me something, just to know what, you know. And that's our failure. But I'd love to know if someone who can, like Paul, can speak light language, if they've done any experiments with babies and actually understood, because he was speaking the words for mama and papa, remember, the other night. Yeah. And if if they are saying other things, I mean, if any experiment has ever been done,
You know,
seeing
the next time he comes on, I'm going to ask him about that. Yeah, it's funny because I was actually, children understand so much more than what we give them credit for. I was at the beach and I'm playing guitar and I'm sitting near the water and I'm playing some like AC/DC song on my guitar. This father and this little girl, the little girl might have been 2 years old. She stops and starts dancing in front of me and clapping her hands.
excellent.
I stop and I stop playing and I wave to her and she just smiles at me. She's waving back at me and I start playing again. She starts dancing again. It was just so cute to watch, you know, that and have
Right.
a connection with this little girl who just, you know, finds love in everything apparently. So
Joy of spirit.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
So
Music
thank you,
is a
Mary,
universal
for
language.
you're welcome. You're
bringing
welcome.
that up for us and joining in once again on our conversation.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
We have a bunch of new people here. I'm seeing like Rob, Carol, Darcy, Lauren, Chris. You know, you guys are all on live right now. If you want to jump in, here's your chance. Tell us what you got.
Yes.
I hear you. I hear you, Chris.
Yeah. I just want to know. I'm wondering about something. I had a experience about I hear voices, and it all started because atrocities was going through my head when I got out the hospital, and I started hearing these voices, like mostly female afterwards. I'm trying to figure out what could they be, because when I was in college, it sounded like a disharmonious parade going on, and I couldn't focus. And like I think they manipulated my life, and because I got in an altercation with a peace officer, and he didn't read me my rights, and he just started putting his hands on me. And in his report, he put that I was swinging my arms, so he felt threatened. And I think there was manipulation going on there. What do you think that sounds like?
Well, what kind of voices did you hear, and did they actually tell you anything specific?
Well, yeah, we got, some of them are adorable. Like we have this thing where if something cute happens, I'll say, "So motherfucking cute," and they'll say it. It's adorable. And then I say, "Give me a kiss," and you hear a kiss sound, and they'll give me a kiss. I go, "Mwah." It's funny, and I believe they're not due to chemical imbalance in my brain, because it's too much of a coincidence, for lack of a better term, that I started hearing them after I get done threatening the opposition of humanity. And well, I'm trying to think of something else they said. One voice said that she was with me, and I hear them throughout the day, but they sound like they talk amongst each other, and I can't make out what they're saying. And I'm trying to figure out what do they usually tell me, because I know you could get more. You could probably come to a conclusion of what it might be. Like I was talking to Carrie Ann Thornton, and she says she don't believe I'm really schizophrenic. But when I got in an altercation with the police officer, they court appointed me to see a psych, and they said there's on one of the papers that in Heartland Behavioral Healthcare Center told me that I had substantial evidence that I was schizophrenic, but I showed no signs of schizophrenia while I was being not monitored but evaluated. I showed no signs, and I got a paper from this dude in a nut house. He's some dark skinned old guy, and he said it said on a paper. I never talked to him before, and it said, these doctors are demon possessed. Authorities know it. They are against this world. And that led me to believe that they're not only manipulating me, but they're manipulating a whole bunch of people in the government.
Can I ask you a question, Chris?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Of all those voices you hear, is one of them you? Is one of them a voice that you trust?
Yeah, I hear this weird voice. I call it my weird baby, because she sounds cute but weird at the same time, because it's like a high-pitched whistle. and she comes around. But when something else happened to me when I was living up in North Canton, Ohio. That I felt there was something. It seemed like something from Silent Hill was coming after me, like a bunch of metallic clanging noises. And I broke my hand from punching a wall from trying to use my belief that I have power over my life and I'm a sovereign being. So I punched the wall, symbolizing that I'm punching it to keep it away from me. And I didn't hear it after that. And they say power a lot too. They always, every day I hear power. And one day for an hour and a half, they kept saying power over and over again.
You know, though, that deep down, and you do know this deep down, that you own your power. No voice outside of yourself can control you. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, I do remember something. They had me thinking racist. They kept putting this feeling on me while this little girl was around me, and they put fear in me. I was standing by the downtowner apartments, and when I was there, this dude was putting his key fob to unlock the door, and I just started to get paralyzed with fear, and I seen a black swirl and everything outside of my peripheral vision was getting dim, and I couldn't move. And if something like little happens, like my brother gets loud or he yells or something, I'll have fear in me, and I normally don't have fear in me because my spirit is so insulted by the system we're living in. I'm enraged, and that really suppresses my fear. My rage is like overpowers my fear in me, but I still have fear in me because something or someone or a group of people, I believe, put fear in me, because I don't believe I put fear in myself. That was nothing was going on at the time. He was just opening the door, and I just froze and fright.
Chris, there's an article I want to show you on in 5D. I want you to check it out, okay?
Okay.
And I've got a screen share right now. Can you see what I have on right now?
Let me go to YouTube.
Well, no, it should be on your screen right now. It would be on YouTube as well, but it's an article called Mega Info Post, How to Clear Negative Energies and Entities. This is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Because nothing should be bringing out nothing should be eliciting those kind of emotions where you need to punch a wall or something like that if it's a positive being. It sounds like there is something that's going on that might be a little deeper. And I want you to check out this article because there's a lot of great links on here on how to cleanse and remove negative entities. So it sounds like there's something along that line that's going on. So please, I'm going to put it out there for you to check that out and let me know how it goes afterwards. Okay.
What's the title of it again?
It's called Mega Info Post, How to Clear Negative Energies and Entities. And what I'll do is I'll put the link to this article below the YouTube video, and I'll also make an article tomorrow or tonight, later on tonight, and you'll find this link in that article as well. Okay. So check that out.
Okay.
And keep me posted. Okay.
I will. You on here every Saturday? Or
I don't. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know when I come on. Sometimes I only give like a 15 minutes heads up, and here I am. So hopefully down the road, I'll be making something more, like once a week here and there, whatever. But right now I don't want to commit myself to anything. So. Okay.
So I just have to catch you when you make it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Or, look me up on Facebook, Greg Prescott, and send me a message there. Okay.
I got you on Facebook too.
Okay, good. Well, let me know. Okay.
All right, I will.
All right, brother. And one last thing. I don't know if anyone's ever said this, but you sound like the comedian Mitch Hedman.
Oh, I never heard of him.
Yeah, he's funny as hell. Yeah. Anyway.
Is he conscious?
Yeah, you'll find him on YouTube. Mitch.
He's
Hedman.
a great comedian. He was absolutely hilarious, and unfortunately, he's passed away. But he was really, really funny, man.
Oh
He
man,
was
that's
good.
fun.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
do
check him
sound
out.
like
What's
him,
his,
actually.
what's his name again?
H-E-D-M-O-N-D. Mitch Hedman.
Oh, okay. Mitch. Yeah.
The Canadian.
Yes, sir. All right. So and posted it on a chat box. I got it. But I appreciate your time.
All right, brother. Thank you for joining in with us. All right.
Chris,
No
I
problem.
have faith. I have faith in you, Chris. I have faith in you, trusting that voice inside that's true to you. So hear it. I have faith.
We're all reflections, even if it may not be what we would like, but there must be a deeper part because we are polarity, negative and positive, white and black.
You have to learn to love the negative part of yourself just as much as you learn the positive part. That's the
For every
lesson I
action
had
is
to learn
equal
this
and
last
opposite
few
reaction.
years. You know, everybody
Yeah.
has a dark part to them, and it's part of who they are. Because you're right, we are a polarity. It's all yin and yang, light and dark. You know, so.
But that's just bound by the body. But if we wasn't bound by the body, we would be probably neutral or.
Oh yeah, you're right. You know, we are. You know, at our deepest level, we are still human, which means we are actually part animal because you know that we come from this planet. Our bodies do anyway. So
They got eyes. They got a
keep
third
the
eye.
faith, brother. I'm gonna let you go, but you just keep on believing, man, and don't let them fool you. Okay.
I believe in you guys too. You guys stay positive. I'm
Always.
optimistic.
Always. Thank you, brother.
All right, wholeness and balance.
All right. Take care now.
All right, peace out.
So I'm going to open up the
I
lines
have
once
a-
again for everyone else that's here. I see some new faces that if you'd like to join in, you have an opportunity. So here it is. You are all unmuted.
I have a question for the group.
Cool.
Okay.
During the awakening, I had a memory or a dream. This is at the beginning of my awakening. And I dreamed that I was taken to a craft or a spaceship, a flying saucer. I remember I had a vague memory of it, but then also I had a memory of where I was put into a pool and breathing under the water, and I couldn't tell what that means. I feel like I was abducted, but it's not abduct because I feel like it was good for me.
How old were you when that happened? That dream?
That was happened 2015, the beginning of my awakening.
Recent. Okay. All right.
What kind of details do you have about that?
I remember that in the pool, it was feel so bliss and feel so good, and breathing underwater was feel like normal breathing on air, but it was just feel so good to be in it. It feels soothing, you know.
And where were you? Were you like at home? Were you in a camping? Were you camping? Were you in a hotel? Where were you?
It wasn't any place on earth that I know of.
No, but when you were
And
sleeping. When you were sleeping,
at
I
home.
had the
I was
dream.
sleeping
home.
in my bedroom.
In
I
your
was sleeping
bedroom.
at
Okay.
home.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted. Yeah. All right. All right.
And I remember seeing the a wall all look like a platinum or silver or something like that. The wall I was looking all platinum, and it's anything that I never see or hard to describe because it looks so different from out this world that I know of, that I have experienced or anything like that. But I remember that I was inside a spacecraft and zipping. And then also I saw a wall that all looked like silver or platinum, or I mean, not platinum, but like a metal around. But then that's just one part of it. And then I was in a pool, and the pool was, I remember breathing underwater, and it would feel like it was normal. And I was like, how could I do that? How could I be breathing underwater normally and not able to choke?
What do you remember of what do you remember of the aliens and those the spaceship you were on? I mean, what was their intent for putting you through this experience? or helping you see this experience, whatever the case may be. So
I think
was
it
their
was
intent?
for my thought would be maybe to clean out the karma or energies that I need healing in my physical body or my etheric. I don't know.
Well, no, if that's what you feel, then I think that's what you should look at, that personally. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, yeah. What was the intent of it? Oh, yeah. All right. Thanks.
So I thought, if anybody had that experience.
I've never
So I
had
couldn't
that. I've
figure
never
out.
been on an alien spaceship.
Then later on during the summer, when I went to California to help out my brother for a month in his shop laundry, and I met a guy who's claimed that he was worked in the triangle, not triangle, I forgot the name. He was a scientist that he worked over there at the
Bermuda?
I forgot the name. Sorry?
Bermuda Triangle?
No, the one like located in Nevada, somewhere over there, that the government.
Area 51.
Area
Yes.
51?
Right, yes.
Alright.
He claimed to work over there for scientists, and then he told me his story that he was one group ET that he was come to Earth to work, to explore and investigate and all that. Then he told me that a man walked through a wall and tell him that they are the same as he is, to remind him, so that he start his journey as investigating what's going on. But I couldn't really tell because he was dressed like a bum, and he said that he's gonna do his investigating and the corruption in California. And I was like surprised at the time, and I gave him my card, and he had somebody contact me. After that, I got scared, and somebody said, don't talk to anybody. And I was like afraid to talk. So I was like asked when he had somebody to call me, because he said he was going to take me to one of the site in Oregon, that military base that he wanted me to see, do all the experiments. He asked me if I was interested, but since then I never had contact from him anymore. But he told me a story about that interesting ET.
Yeah, what I can tell you is a lot of times, when we dream, it's almost as if when we're awake, that's the dream, and the dream is more real, if that makes sense. A lot of times, because we are multidimensional. And do you ever notice that, like, for example, when we dream, there's no time. We don't look at the watch. We're living outside of time. That's closer to our true spiritual nature than reality itself, where we're trapped within Chronos, Father Time, Saturn, so I look at our dreams, and I see, especially for those who have done their work, once you've done all your work, the only thing that's left is either mundane dreams or futuristic dreams that show you things that haven't happened yet. So I'm always fascinated. One of the courses I took, one of my favorite classes in school, in college, was the psychology of sleep and dreams, which led me to write an article on N5D about the top 40 dream symbols, which you can find. I'll leave a link for that down here as well. But because the links, the metaphors have changed with everything that's been going on. What you typically knew in dream analysis, they're not taking into consideration the metaphysical aspects of them. So thank you for sharing that once again and putting that out there for everyone. I see we have some more people that are joining us. If Rob, Carol, if you want to jump in, you're more. Coop, I saw you had your picture up there, but if you want to jump in, you're more than welcome to, and tell us what you've been experiencing.
Hi,
Hi, Coop.
it's Lauren. My name's Lauren,
Hi,
and
okay.
I've got a funny accent because I'm from the north of England.
Hi, Laden. Okay, should I
So
call
I'm
you
kind of
Laden or Lauren?
I'm kind of from around the Liverpool area, but I don't have a Liverpool accent. So I'm
Okay.
more from like I've got a Lancashire accent. But
Okay.
oh man, things have just crazy stuff happens to me all the time. I just feel like I don't belong here a lot of the time.
We all feel that way.
I
Hey,
keep having,
what time is it where you are?
it's 2:06 at the moment.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Okay, well, don't feel bad because I'm one of the people that wakes up between 2 and 3 every day. So I'll see you when it gets to this side of the Atlantic. But thanks for joining us.
We have Allie from Ireland here with us too, so she's in your same time zone.
Yeah, she's Ireland. Well, you get on the ferry from Liverpool to go to Ireland, so it's kind of not that too far away, really, I guess.
Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to Matthias Infinitely. He put up a super chat and said, "Always remind yourself, no one has power over you. No thing has power over you externally. One love." And thank you, Matthias. So continue. What you got for us, Aladdin?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where to start because I never really tell people, what's going on. And sometimes, I mean, my family are quite sort of psychically orientated, but even they don't get it sometimes. I've had problems with gin. I don't know if you've heard of the gin, but I had one of them float.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them was floating around my flat. And then I worked on a railway. I was a railway attendant for a short time. I actually saw one on the platform. We were talking about the shadow people and things like that. And I thought, I really do need this gin to go because it was hovering around my kitchen. But my kitchen is like some kind of psychic hotbox. It's really weird. It's a tiny little space, but I keep getting like channeling messages and stuff. But yeah, so that's another story. But yeah, and I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do because gins are a bit different to just your average thing. And I kind of did a bit of research on it. And I ended
When you say a gin, you mean like a genie?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
like a
Just
dark.
making sure. Okay.
Well, I have like sort of, I live in a very old Victorian house as well. So there's a corridor and I keep getting peripheral visions of things. And sometimes it's white figures and sometimes it's dark. It depends. It's really weird and it can be at any time of the day, But yeah, there was definitely this dark thing hovering around. But I had this like really weird old calendar because they reckon that certain types of furniture and things like that can hold like a spirit or something in it. I don't know. And I'm thinking, is it this blooming horrible old Spanish calendar that I've got? I chucked it out. That didn't work. So I thought, oh, what am I going to do? Anyway, what the Islamic people do is they play a passage of the Quran backwards. Right? So I've recorded some of the Quran on my phone that was backwards, that was an Islamic anti-jinn thing. And that actually did seem to work, although it was a bit creepy doing it at the time. But so, yeah. But then I don't know, it must have just gone or I got rid of it because I told it to go. But then I set the fire alarms off with a sage stick one night. So that wasn't a good idea.
How long ago did you get rid of them?
Oh, Well, actually, there's another story attached to that, but it was probably about, it was 2018.
Well, that's good. It's been a couple of years then since you've been
Yeah,
visiting.
there's still a few weird things go on, but I don't think that, there's that actual thing is still here.
Good,
Really.
good. Let's hope not. But what I want to remind you as well, just like I was mentioning earlier, is this article. Be sure to check this out, the mega info post, how to clear negative energies and entities. So highly
Yeah,
recommend
it's a
it.
coincidence that the person before, was it Chris that was saying
Yes.
about he'd
Yes.
got problems? So,
Yep. So yeah, I'll leave a link on under the more info section of the video on the In5D YouTube channel.
yeah, that's great. Well, yeah, there's all sorts of. The other day, I walked into my living room and the fire had just decided to switch itself on, for no apparent reason.
That's interesting.
That's just a normal day in my life, really.
Right. Right.
I don't know. I mean, I could go on all night about the peculiar time jumping. It can just go like that, and I'll look up. I might be doing something. Now, I am quite a hyper-focused person, but this is ridiculous. You know what I mean? I sat in my car the other day and I put a CD in the car. Yeah, people do still use CDs in the UK.
At least it wasn't an 8-track.
Yeah. And I'm just sat in the car waiting to go into work. The clock was on like, I think it was 41, and suddenly I played like one track and it just skipped to like 10 minutes. And I'm thinking, what the heck's going on here? This is
I wonder if it
really
skipped
odd.
to a song that you were supposed to hear, if there was lyrics in that particular song.
No, because the song played from, the song was about a 5-minute song. But it seemed to play, it was like, but the time had doubled through the one song. Don't know. But that's happened a couple of times in the same place where I work, when I've sat in the car waiting to go in.
So you reminded me of something that, with time. One time, my daughter and I, we had these friendship bracelets that we picked out for each other. And mine was green and, the heart chakra. And they say that you're supposed to make a wish when these bracelets fall off. So I woke up one night at 1:11 and noticed my bracelet had fallen off, and I made a wish. I forgot what the wish was. This was probably back in 2010 or 9. Forgot what the wish was. Fall back asleep. I wake up at 2:22. I'm thinking, I can't get up now, and I go back to sleep. I wake up again at 3:33. I'm thinking, what are the odds of waking up at 1:11, 2:22, and 3:33 on the same night when that bracelet fell off? Crazy.
Well, my birthday is 1/11, right? But it's 11/1 to you in the States.
Right.
And I am constantly getting 11/11s. And the angel, I can't remember her name now, but she's on YouTube. And she does the angel things. And she just says, just whatever you're thinking, that's what the message is from the angel.
Yes. Yeah.
I have been getting not just the same set of numbers though. I mean, I get it's 10:10, and then it's 11:11, and then it's 3:33, and
right.
I go by the European time scale because being in the Army, it makes sense to me. So it's 18:18, it's 19:19, those kind of things, and it happens.
Yeah.
It happens 5 or 6 times a day, and every time it does, I smile and I go, okay, what was I just thinking about? And it's starting to make sense. It really is. So definitely pay attention to that. That's intuition talking to you.
Yeah, really. There's something happening, but then I can get other days runs of numbers as well. So and also it becomes something crazy like the microwave stops on 1:11, or it could be 2:22, or it can be the same run of numbers at one time, then it'll just stop. And I'm not particularly looking for it. I'm not making a
Yeah.
conscious effort.
Well, you know, we all, everything's energy, you know, we are electromagnetic, you know, basically. I mean, geez, when on my iPad now, it's gotten to the point where I can get my finger within about 3 inches of clicking on something, and all of a sudden, boom, it pops open, you know, and it's
Yeah.
freaky when it happens, but I'm starting to expect it now, you know. So
Well, I was just born freaky. It doesn't really. I just
You're not
thought
alone.
that, you know, it's just like
or
what
it
the
could
hell.
just be that I'm very electric. I don't know.
I would say
Well,
you're very
I
electric.
heard you mention one night something about that you couldn't wear watches, and I can't wear watches either. And it doesn't matter whether they're digital, whatever they are, they just go completely bananas.
Yeah,
And
I wear my chakra balancing bracelet now. That's all I wear, you know. I mean,
and has anybody
pocket
out
watch,
there?
can't wear them, electronic watch. Computers sometimes do weird things. I found a Reiki healer, a guy to do Reiki treatments in my hometown, because I didn't think I'd really find one. And I just happened to open up Yelp, and all of a sudden, boom, there was his ad. And I was just thinking about looking for a Reiki guy. So I went to see him. You know what? It's working out fine. So listen to that when it happens, you know, really. It's
Oh well, my
guardian angel, your
the
higher self. It's, you know, it's
the Reiki person just happens to be an old school friend of mine, and that's another weird story as well. Sorry to cut in there, but
That's good.
yeah. And well, I haven't been for a session yet. Well, the other thing is, does anybody out there have a thing with street lamps shutting off on you when you're walking past them? Because they do that to me.
Please come to my house,
Yeah,
because I've got one that's driving me
I was
nuts.
talking about that the first night I was on here. My friends never believed me until it, you know, I made them ride around with me one night. I'd get on the interstate, and it wouldn't matter what I was thinking of, what was playing on the radio. All of a sudden, just as I'm going under the street light, it goes out. Boom.
It goes, yeah.
And it happened one night with my ex-wife, my second ex-wife. You know, told me, oh yeah, right, whatever, you know. And then when it happened like 5 times, when she got out of the car, her eyes were real big. And after that, let's just say things changed in our relationship. I don't know why. Anyway.
Oh well, people just expect weirdness out of me, so it's just like normal, you know. They just kind of get it.
So we're being joined actually right now. I've got a friend of mine, and thank you for sharing with us, Lauren. Lauren, thank you for sharing with us. But we have another person.
Yes, thank you, Lauren.
Yes, a friend of mine, Carrie Ann Sanders from Quirky Cosmos. She was joining us last night with the meetup that we had on the beach with Sology, and today she was interviewed by Todd Medina on Todd's Sology program. So Carrie, welcome aboard here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was an interesting day, but I was having so much fun listening to their conversation. Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But no, thanks for you know, the intro and everything. Oh, the beach meetup was great. The Australian pine, it was just like so fitting to everything. Just the synchronicity of it all last night. It was great.
So this kind of ties all in together, because for those of you who haven't saw the video that I put up on N5D, Carrie did some light language. So I'd imagine that would fall into this topic. Can you believe this happened to me? How did light language end up coming to you?
It was actually an adorable story. So I was a little bit more high than normal. But I was reading my kids the lullaby to bed, and it's a meditation lullaby, like book, not a lullaby, so it's like a book, a meditation book, and they fell asleep to it, and I ended up putting myself into a deep stated, like, conscious meditation, basically, because I was reading this book, and then all of a sudden it's like 6-7 different languages coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, blah, 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 just going off, and I was like, then I started crying, and I was like,
what just happened? What was that? And I called my friend. I was like, I don't know what just came out of my mouth. It was like 7, 8 different languages. I said, I think one was Spanish. I think something in Indian. I was like, I have no idea, maybe Russian. And so and I had no idea what it was. That's how it came to.
I love it. Absolutely. I think it's really cool when you do it. Carrie joined me on New Year's Eve and helped me to ring in the new year. She was on my show here at my place. So that was cool. Had a good time with that.
It was fun. That was a fun night. It's so impromptu. I didn't realize we were doing the Zoom that night. Instead of Zoom, I show up. Zoomed over.
But you did some light language that night, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
That's cool.
Last night too was really great.
Yes. Yes. So
very deep. So
what stories do you want to share with us?
I don't know. I have so many. We can go with the most recent one.
Okay.
Oh, well, no, that's just too fresh. That one hasn't quite panned out yet. I'll let you know how that one goes.
Okay.
But I have been being guided lately by spirit to different sacred sites around this area. And so recently it's been about like opening the heart and enjoying and being vulnerable and in these new relationships with people, right? And not being so rigid, or just in our ways, right? Like willing to change.
Did you say frigid or rigid?
Rigid.
Frigid.
Oh, I did. Whatever. And so I was guided to like my spirit like took me to this called the Bradenton River Walk, and like there's this beautiful art piece, and it's the 2 hearts upside down, but they make like an infinity sign. Anyways, it's called what is it? The Infinite Open Heart. It's called the Open Heart. That's the name of the piece. And I was just like, oh, of course, here we go, telling me to not be so hard, be such a hard ass, I was like, you got to make these big statements. So it's things like that, just random little nuances that happen throughout the day, and those are pretty much my life anymore, like everybody else is talking about in the feed.
Mm-hmm. So what about like, certain synchronicities? Do you see like certain things come into your life and messages and stuff like that?
Oh my God, yeah. Like that's my whole life. It's like
Yeah.
it's what I like. So I'm like, oh, I call you, or I write. I'm like, oh, and this is happening and this is happening. It's a bunch of puzzle pieces. So I put a lot of things together with it's the gene keys. I see like the back of the license plates, and if they have like M with any 2 digits next to it, I know it's like a constellation, or it's within a constellation. So it's like a miser. And so I'm like, okay, which constellation's talking to me? What do I need to know? What myth, what path, what obstacle do I have to, is it the monster? Is it the happy ending? Like what's coming at me, So I'm constant in analyzing like that.
Carrie's on the next island up. I'm on Siesta and she's on Anna Maria. And
north.
but yeah, she's right here, and we've hung out on the beach a few times. And did you ever catch yourself looking at people on the beach for like birthmarks and seeing what kind of star signs are on them?
Well, after you told me, then yes.
Yeah.
I do know my daughter. I was like,
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
Yeah, exactly. That's really cool.
I was at a hotel in Orlando one time. My wife was sitting there at the side of a pool, and these 2 guys are walking by, and as this guy walks by, he looks down at my feet and he says to his partner, he goes, "That guy has lucky toes." And then they kept on walking, and like, the fuck are you talking about, lucky toes? So apparently I have lucky toes. So
always have to be lucky toes.
Yeah. How amazing is that? So it kind of related to what y'all were talking about.
Weren't you talking about Lucky Charms earlier today, Carrie?
Geez, I hope they don't sell those in a box.
Lucky toes or Lucky Charms?
Oh, lucky toes.
Lucky
I don't
Charms,
know.
Lucky toes in a box. It's actually a good marketing idea.
That's okay.
Lucky toes.
I think on your interview with Todd, you were talking about Lucky Charms.
Like a gummy bear. Lucky toes.
You don't have to try them,
But what
That
the
was
hell are
such
lucky
a
toes?
flow.
But what does born under lucky star mean, and what does having lucky toes mean anyway? You know, it struck me as being very humorous.
I can relate to that. My name mean lucky. If you're lucky toe, my name mean lucky.
But I have been lucky my entire life. I really have. I've been lucky and blessed in so many ways. It's unbelievable. I should have been dead a long time ago in many ways, you know, or could have been dead, I should say.
I have
Could have.
Well,
like
you're
9
here for a
lives.
purpose. You're here for a purpose now. Well, you've always been here for a purpose.
Well, I have a
That's the
purpose.
thing, you know?
I have a special purpose.
Well,
Carrie, have you had any
okay.
past lives that you'd like to share?
Are you a Steve Martin fan too? Anyway,
Hang on, let
I
me.
love Steve Martin. Exactly.
The
Yeah.
chat's
yeah.
getting carried away here. Let me mute
Yeah.
people here first.
Let's
Hang
mute
on.
me. Yeah.
Yes, hang on. Hang on. It's getting a little carried away, and I gotta unmute Carrie. So Carrie,
Okay.
here we go.
All
Have you
right.
had any past lives that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, just well, the ones that I've remembered were pretty. I had the Maria Orsic one, and then there was being a nun, and which was in like the late 11th century. I ended up dating my scribe. I was with my scribe in my past life. Like I was only male, but anyways, I ended up dating him in this life. That was pretty recent and awkward. And so
That didn't
you
work
know,
out too well, apparently.
no, it definitely did not. No, no. But it helped me see, you know, the patterns that I was still running or subconsciously desiring, whatever words you want to put to it. But yeah, it was a pretty intense. It was funny. You know, then my husband, he's that's a funny story because of the Maria Orsic story, or past life.
The Vril.
Yeah. And yeah, but his grandfather or great grandfather is Rudolf Hess. It's from his mother's side. Great grandfather, yeah, it's Rudolf Hess. And you know, it just really, really weird how all that played out in this life, the karmic energy at least.
Yeah.
So, and I have a lot of visions from being in the crystalline core, and like the city, there's like this beautiful city, it's crystal cities and everything. Everybody has like purple eyes or blue eyes, or really light skinned, luminescent beings, tall. But yeah, it's like Pleiadian looking. Had a lot of those dreams.
Yeah.
I wish I could stay in those. Don't you?
Does it seem like, you know, so we were just talking about this earlier. Does it seem like our dreams are more real than our waking lives?
Oh, you guys were talking about this? Yeah, it does though. But that's the thing, is we are the dreamers. You know, we're dreaming this dream. And it's like the more conscious that we're becoming of the creator aspect that we are, the God, the essence of God that we are, the more it's like becoming your reality. It's becoming everything that you are, because you realize it. Like, I don't know, it's really unfolding rapidly, at least in my perspective. That's why I feel like the dream is, we are just like catching up to these lives.
So if it's all a hologram, is the dream part of the hologram?
I don't know. Is it a hologram?
If it is.
Well, if it's a hologram, what's the way out? What's the way out of a hologram?
In. Only way out is in.
Yeah. If you don't go without, you don't. Yeah. But what does in mean?
Meditate. What does it mean for you? It means different for somebody else.
Everything's mental, as it says, as above, so below. You know.
I remember when I fall into depression, I think either my spirit guide or my higher self remind me by showing me the dream of reality, which is going through a dream state. And then I wake up in tears and vibrant again. Get me out of depression.
Beautiful.
You know, to show you life on the other side.
But that's the beauty of depression.
You guys,
it's like you have the appreciation for the beauty on the other side.
Yes.
and you have time to go within, and it's like a decompression. It doesn't have to be a depression, it's a decompression. So you're just releasing all the
Absolutely.
bullshit that you've
Yeah.
collected from life.
We're all here to experience, this life as fully as we can, and it's,
Right.
we're here to savor it and embrace it and taste it, and really live, and not just not wind up at your end of your days going, boy, I wish I woulda, I shoulda, I coulda. I don't want to be one of those kind of people. That's why it's cold here tonight, but I'm still going to get out my little roller scooter and head out to the basketball court and maybe shoot some baskets for a little while, just to be able to get outside.
I think it's important
I
that
love
when we
that.
do our life review, we look at ourselves that we did live a full life. We did everything that we could possibly do, and we made the most of every day that we had. Who wants to see a life review of just watching yourself in a lazy boy clicking your remote, watching TV? Boy, that was a good life. Let's come back and do it again.
I threw out my TV 10 years ago.
Good. Yeah,
I
it's
won't have
crazy.
one in the house. It's just a waste of time. It's just garbage.
I agree.
I don't want that rubbish garbage in my brain at all.
Well,
forget it.
unfortunately, I am a diehard University of Alabama Crimson Tide fan, just the way Greg is his Kansas City Chiefs fan. So I'm never going to get rid of my TV, but I listen to a lot of music now. I'm on a Bluetooth speaker. I got a great little Bose speaker, and I just listen to my tunes. And then, I like to watch a lot of comedies now. I like to watch a lot of old comedies I used to love growing up. My folks loved all the Bob Hope, Bing Crosby road pictures. So, whenever one of those is on, I'll watch it and I'll laugh, why not? Just
I Love Lucy.
do the stuff that makes you happy, follow your bliss, really.
I love it.
That's it, follow your bliss.
Well, my TV source comes completely off YouTube. So I've just watched a really interesting film, actually, which was, what was it called now? The guy, Robert Phoenix, who's an astrologer, he recommended it on his show today. And it's called God Told Me To. It's a film from the 70s. And it's kind of a demonic type of thing. It's still quite interesting.
That would make sense if you're using the word God instead of creator source. God told me to, and it's
yeah. And it was he was looking at himself, who was Lucifer, and he was like the good part of Lucifer. Right. And then he ended up killing the Lucifer, but then he ended up getting arrested and sent into jail. But it was quite scary, actually. Because I don't like horror films, but never mind. But I mean, it was on YouTube, so it wasn't that bad. It was a bit violent, but I thought I'll give it a go.
A lot of people have gone through different changes throughout their lives, and oftentimes these changes involve having a walk-in come in. My ex-wife and my daughter have seen different eras within my own life that they said, yep, dad or my ex had a walk-in. They saw things within me change, and I see that too. And here's ways that you can tell whether you've had a walk-in or not. All of a sudden you're doing things that you've never done before. You might have a different, for example, affinity for certain foods that you never liked in the past. Here's another thing. I had a walk-in, I don't know, maybe about a year and a half ago that liked listening to swing music from the 30s and 40s. I never listened to that. All of a sudden I found myself just going to the music station on TV and listening to swing for, whatever, several hours.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Well, it's interesting. I used to read tarot, and I used to do it professionally, but then it just used to burn my head out, and I used to get really tired with it. And so I just, let it go. But then I always thought that I'd probably end up doing mediumship or channeling. And all of a sudden now, it's just happened. Every now and again, I get snippets of blips of things. And I seem to be, I don't focus on it too much, but it does happen. Where I'll get a channeled message, and I got one not long ago, and it was just in the kitchen doing what I'm doing, radio's buzzing away, and it was like, oh, hello, my name's George. And so I kind of started talking to it. My name's George Smith. Well, 1783 or a number came into my head, and then it was just I was a soldier, and I thought, oh, no, that's just me making something up in my head. But actually, I ran with it. So I went and checked if there was a war at that particular time, 1783. I've got it written down anyway, what it was. But it turns out this person did actually exist at this time in the Crimean War. So, and there was only 3 people on the war records when I looked at them, because they didn't have as many soldiers that went out. And he was actually from an area in Britain near where my ex-husband lives, which is in the Midlands. I live in the north. And it was the regiment that he was in and everything. It didn't give too many details, because the details then weren't too comprehensive. But I thought, oh, whoa, that's crazy. But yeah, that's another crazy thing that happened about probably 6 months ago, maybe less. So I think if I applied my mind, I could probably channel a bit more, but I don't want to force myself too much to do it. I just want it to happen naturally when it needs to. Because both my parents died within 2 weeks of one another. And so that was a bit odd. And my dad kind of came through. But I was still kind of picking up things before they died. So, so it's really interesting. I love it. I really do.
I used to, one thing about channeling, you just have to be careful that, you want to make sure that whoever it is that you're bringing in is and does have your highest and best good and in interest.
Well, I don't make a conscious effort to do it, but this one just came into my head one day. I don't know. Right. Because I know that you've got to I know you've got to be careful. That's why I don't push it too much, because I don't know enough about channeling. A friend
of mine was channeling Mother Mary one time, and she was getting all this information, and she was telling me before this stuff would happen, what was going to happen in her life. And sure shit, that did happen. But eventually Mother Mary told my friend, kill yourself. That obviously.
Oh, well, yeah.
This
is the thing. Yeah, you really have got to be careful.
You do.
Because when I was young,
when I was a kid.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was interested in Wicca, and I got into that. And, I thought, I joined a group and I didn't really fit in with them and things like that. And I thought, right. But it was because there wasn't anything like there wasn't any 5D or anything like that. There was you could go to the spiritualist church, or you could, there wasn't that much. And there isn't that much in England anyway, really, to be honest with you. There just isn't. He just bracketed into one thing. And so Wicca seemed to just sort of, it intrigued me. I was interested in it. And I don't know, I tried it, but it really, whoa, no. There was some not good things came of that, really, at all. Mm-hmm. So
one of my best friends, when I was 11 years old, for some reason became a Satanist. I don't really know why. He never really told me about it, but he did a personality change, and he actually, encouraged me to read the Satanic Bible.
I've read
I
read
did.
that.
I read about the
Yeah.
first chapter and I thought, yeah, this is about using magic to control people and make them do things just because you're a bad person. Nah, not for me. And I handed him back the book and I, said, man, I hope everything works out for you. And I never talked to him again after that. I mean,
Well,
you
the
don't want to
power,
tell people around.
yeah, the power of intention is that it can be quite a dangerous thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Everybody's
it's
gonna watch out for
used,
these false lights.
if it's used unwisely, it will just blow up in your face.
Yeah.
All right.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys,
Intention.
I'm gonna call out. I'm gonna go to bed. I am so tired, but I wanted
Okay.
to say thank you guys for sharing space and everything tonight, and everybody in the chats. And Greg, thank you for hosting this awesome platform. I am just super tired.
That's
So,
okay.
and I
Thanks,
had
Carrie.
fun, and I enjoyed these stories. Good night, you guys.
Good night.
Good night, Carrie Ann.
Bye.
Good
Night.
night.
Good night.
Greg, can you expand
Night.
on your story? Because I can really dig that.
On the
walk-in.
walk-ins?
It sounds so familiar. Yeah. Sounds so familiar.
There, honestly, what I would do is, I recommend this all the time anyway. there's a search bar up here on N5D. Look up anything on N5D. I highly recommend just typing in walk-in, hit enter, and you'll be brought to a plethora of articles. What are walk-in souls? So on and so forth. Just a ton of stuff and what they do. I did a show, one of my earlier Facebook Lives. Did one of those Q&A with the Pleiadian Syrian walk-in, the walk-in soul experience, walk-ins, the wandering soul, and so on and so forth. You can see lots and lots on walk-in souls. And even this stuff has information about walk-in souls within the articles, even though they're not in the title. So you can see lots of stuff in there. You will notice, like I said, there will be definitive things in your life that you haven't been doing beforehand that you'll see yourself doing now. You won't have any reason, or you won't understand why all of a sudden you have an affinity for something different.
Yeah, I go through a lot of phases like that, but sometimes it can be just a subject that I've exhausted to its full capacity.
Yes.
Or sometimes it can just be a random thing. An example is coin collecting, because I have no idea why I've suddenly got into coin collecting, which is really weird. But hey, and it's got nothing to do with the topics tonight, but it can be something just simple like that, can't it? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that does have something to do with the topic. If you were never a coin collector and all of a sudden I feel like collecting coins from all around the world, yeah, that could be a walk-in.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
That's possible.
Mhm.
I've never thought of it like that. I just thought it was one of a crazy fad that I was going through, but maybe not.
We have a new person here. One of our moderators.
Hello.
T-Light, Tracy.
Hey, can you guys
Hey,
hear me?
Tracy.
Thanks for joining us.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, introvert. Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
A little louder though.
Okay. I'm on my laptop this time, so I'm not sure. I do these meetings for work, but usually have my headset.
Well, at least you're not driving.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Like the last time.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is really off subject, but the one experience that keeps popping in my head is when I was 17 and I played around with a Ouija board. And, at that time, my parents were really religious. It was church every Sunday and live like a heathen the rest of the week, kind of upbringing. But I was really naive. I was a farm girl, so I was, pretty sheltered from the real world. And so when I had these crazy friends that brought these things into my world that were different, of course, I was the rebel that said, yeah, let's do this. So a friend of mine brought this Ouija board over one night, and we used this thing all weekend long. And it was, we were all kind of looking at each other like, are you doing that? No. Are you doing? No. But nobody trusted each other. You know, we're like, okay, this can't be real. And so after about 3 or 4 days, we kind of became like addicted to it. And at the time, I didn't know any of this, of course. You know, I'm completely naive, but I just knew that I was so drawn to it. And so it's weekend number 2, and the same friends are over. And so we were, you know, taking turns. And it got to the point where, okay, so the board has been with me the whole time, and I never used it by myself, never. But it got to the point where it was really going crazy when I was on. And when I would get off, it would just kind of slow down, not a lot of information coming through. And so there's 2 friends of mine on there, and it just kind of stopped. But I was watching, and they're like, are you here? Are you here? And it would just kind of like circle around, and then it would just start like spelling out my name. And I was like, okay, stop it. You know, you guys are messing with me. And they're like, no, we're not, you know. So we switched friends, and it just kept spelling out my name. And it would just refuse to give us any information unless I was on the board. So I was like, okay, I know you guys are you're just doing this to freak me out. So I said, I'm going to ask it a question just to prove that my friends weren't doing this. I said, I'm going to ask it a question that only I know the answer to. And they're like, okay, fine. We swear we're not doing this. So I said, what was the nickname that my dad used to call me when I was little? And so it started spelling it out. And so my name is Tracy, and my nickname that he would call me was Tracer. So it started getting to TRAC, and then it went like really slow to the E, and then really slow to the R. And I just was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, did you guys know this? Did my sisters tell you? And they're like, no. So at that point, it was like wanting me on the board. And I'm like, okay, this is real. So I decided to get back on, and I was like, okay, so tell us who you are. What's going on here? So it started giving us information at that point. And we got that it was a man named William. And I think he gave us a last name, but I don't remember because, you know, back then there was no internet. We couldn't look anything up. And he said his name was William something, and that he died in a helicopter crash in the Korean War. And he was just lost, basically. And so I knew enough spiritually at that point, because I was one of these little kids who, I was a little prayer warrior. I was different from the time I came into the world. And so I had my own spirituality that really my family didn't know about. It was not religion. It was just my own. I was in tune to a lot of things and didn't know really what was going on until I got older and started waking up. And then I was like, okay, I was so different. You know, it was just really obvious. But so in talking to this spirit, it was just so adamant about wanting to speak to somebody, speak to me. And it kind of started freaking me out. So I think I just told it, you know, I don't know where you are, but, you know, just go into the light and, you know, cross over to the other side. But it's like it had a message. And I just was so young and naive and scared that I told it goodbye. And I was like, you know, I can't do this anymore. And I think I took the board and threw it in a dumpster somewhere, like at a grocery store or something.
So you said you think it had a message, but you never got the message of what it had.
No, because it was so personal at that point that it was just scaring me. And my friends were just kind of like, bye, gotta go. And everybody just kind of freaked out because we were so young and we didn't know enough about it. And of course, all of our families were very religious. So it was just it was taboo, you know, and when it got real, everybody just kind of scattered. And so I kind of thought about it. And I'm like, I really, you know, I started having that guilt and fear, you know, that religion puts in you, like, oh, I'm such a bad person now. I should have never meddled in this. I'm going to hell. So I put it in a dumpster, and then it didn't stop after that. So about a week later, so my sisters and I had this upstairs bedroom in this like big Cape Cod house in the country. And we all three shared a bedroom. And when you go up the stairs, there's like a little like family room, living room type thing. And then you get to the bedroom. So as you walk up the stairs, you can look to the right and kind of you're at the floor level at one point as you're coming up the stairs, right? So at this point, I think I was a senior in high school. And I went to school like half a day, and the other half of the day, you know, I would get out early and I would go to my job. So I would go home, change clothes, whatever. And so this was about a week after the incident happened with my friends, and we, you know, communicated. So I was coming home from school in the middle of the day, nobody's home but me. And my sisters and I in the morning would always play, you know, the great radio station of, you know, whatever the mainstream was, KZ93 or something, all the great songs. It never left that radio station ever. And it was always whoever was last out, it was our job to turn the stereo off. So on top of one of the speakers, we had this like, it was like a basket, and it had a nutcracker on the top where you would kind of screw it down and you could put the nut in there, and then it would fall into the basket, the shells. And then in that nutcracker basket was just a bunch of odds and ends. Like I think there was a screwdriver, a pen, you know, just different things that just got thrown in there, and it was there forever. So I came home this one day and I walked up the stairs, and I, you know, not again, looking back, I realize now, like I sensed an energy big time, but I just had this really weird feeling like something doesn't seem right. And so I walked up the stairs and I noticed this loud noise. It was like white noise. And so I stopped kind of halfway up. I'm like, oh my God, that's our stereo. Like it never, like what is happening? We shut it off, but even if it was on, it would be on our station. So as I got to like the floor level where I could look to the right and see the floor, I noticed the nutcracker was on the floor in the middle of the room. And I was like, now that is weird. Like what is going on? So I walked around, came up the stairs, walked around, and the nutcracker is literally probably 8 feet from the stereo speaker where it normally sits. And it's in the center of the room. And then everything that was inside of the basket is perfectly placed in a circle around it, like almost like a pentagram. Like there was a screwdriver, a pen, like a barrette, and everything was the same space apart, and it's just in the middle of the room, and then it's on like an AM station, like really loud white noise. So of course that was enough to freak me out. So I run back to school. I didn't know what else to do. So I go back to the high school, and like the bell had just rung, and I'm going down the hall, and I ran into one of my guy friends, and he's like, you look like you just saw a ghost. And I was like, you got to come back to my house, please. I don't know what to do. So he came back, and of course he's doing the whole James Bond thing, trying to be all cool. And I just was like, there's nothing here. Come upstairs and look what, you know, look at this thing on the floor. So he looked at it and he was like, there's no way that could have fallen off the speaker from across the room and, you know, fallen into this pattern.
It'd have been funny if it was back where it was originally.
Right. I know. I was scared to go up there. I was like, you go look, I can't. So, you know, long story short, after that, you know, I just really, it kind of woke me up to the fact that, you know, there's the spirit world is real. And so as I grew up and started to, you know, come into all these new truths, I started to think back on that, and I wondered, like, did I tap into one of my own past lives? You know, was that my, you know, one of my fragments that I was speaking to? Because I wasn't born until 1970, and, you know, he died in the Korean War in 1952. So, you know, I guess my question to the group is, does anybody else have any experience with that? You know, as I've woken up, you know, everything that we are told in religion is evil isn't necessarily evil. It's just one of those things that they don't want us to know the truth about. because it helps us to, you know, regain our own power and realize that we are sovereign beings and we have the ability to, you know, look into the spirit realm through all these different ways and using different types of portals and whatever. So I don't really know to this day, is that a negative thing? You know, is a Ouija board just a tool?
I think so. You know, a lot of people say it can be demonic and it's a portal to dark entities, which it can be, but it also can be a portal to wonderful entities. I think it could be either way, as long as
Yeah.
you protect yourself beforehand. Thing is, you never got that answer though from that entity.
Right.
Destitute, it kept spelling out your name and
Yes.
you know,
And
has an important message for you, but you never
I
ever
know.
got it.
And I've done a couple QHHT sessions, and that was never one of my questions, because I kind of felt like, you know, if it's going to come through, it's going to come through. But there's been times in my life where I've always felt like, you know, there's something there. But right now I have this tensor generator. It's got like 6 or 8, I think it's 6 of the 8-inch tensor rings, you know, kind of intertwined. So it looks like, you know, the symbol of all the, you know, I can't even think of what it's called now, but it's such a powerful energetic tool that, and it cannot be demonized. It is only a white light generator. You know, it sends out the white golden light of source energy, and it actually attracts waywards. So this is kind of my piece in the whole situation, that I feel like if that spirit or entity, whatever that was still following me, then this was the opportunity it had, you know, with me carrying this tool with me. It is going to help lead it to the light. And, you know, there's been weird things happen in my house now, but I mean, knowing what I know, I realize that when I have this energetic tool in my house, that I'm going to see and experience things as these waywards are drawn into it, and it helps them pass through the veil, you know, into the right place.
It still seems like there is more to it than just sending that person back to the light. If that person was so adamant about spelling your name out, that there's something more that you needed to know. He probably knows that you can go back to the light by now, but there's still something more that was.
Yeah, I felt like it had a message for me, and I was acting out of fear then,
right?
You know? So I kind of do regret just chucking the whole thing, and I had no one, you know, nobody that was even close to. I've never even told my parents that story, or my sisters. Well, I think one of my sisters was there for a while, but it's just one of those things that there's only certain people I've shared it with, because, you know, I'm in a small little country farm town. You're going to be labeled real quick, you know.
I would do it with you.
Okay,
I would get, you know, I would get a Ouija board and do it with you to see if we can get that answer, and then say, okay, you're out of here.
I would love that. just to get the closure,
Yeah.
not for me, but for him, because he was, oh my gosh, it's like he knew that I was, you know, that being that was going to help him. And I kind of feel like I let him down in a way, you know, because I like I said, I was always different. My friends were very linear people, but I always had that, like, I was the type of person growing up that I never fit into one crowd. I was like everybody's friend. Like, I would just kind of float around, you know, like, oh, I'm hanging out with the burnouts today. Tomorrow I'm going to hang out with the cheerleaders, and, you know, then I'm going to be with the nerds. So I was just one of those people that I never really had you know, I'm like, I'm not that, I'm none of these things. So it was really hard, you know, because I didn't have anybody to really turn to for the answers, except for.
I know that feeling. When I was in high school, I used to get high, and I played sports. You know, I was a jock.
You were kind of on all sides too.
But the jocks were their own. They didn't get high, and the heads didn't play sports, but I did. I did both. So I'm like, screw this. I was tired of all the cliques that were going on, the preppies, the nerds, and all this. I was like, screw all y'all, and I kind of like went away on my own. Then people started following me, and I ended up having my own clique of like the heads that play sports.
The intermixes.
Yeah. Let's get high and play football. All right.
Exactly. It was kind of like whenever they were all in a fight with one of their own, they would come find me.
Right.
So I was always the counselor, the peacemaker. I was the one saying, well, maybe they didn't mean it. Just forgive them. So yeah, it's kind of that empath, way of being. So you don't really have a clan, so to speak, until now. And then, you find your tribe and you're like, that's my people.
My people.
But, yeah. So yeah, but that's the story that really stuck out to me. I have so many others that, are just bizarre like everybody else. We all have our crazy experiences that we didn't understand at the time, or now it's like, oh my God, that's what's happening. But that's the one that just stuck out to me. And I guess maybe it's because it is a little bit unresolved yet.
Yeah.
So when I come to Florida, we'll have to go to the KB toy store and see if they still carry those things.
Yeah. Then look me up. We'll do it.
Yeah.
All right.
That
I'm
sounds
in.
good.
That's cool. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for letting me. It's been kind of one of those things that's just been following me around, and it's good to
Yeah.
get out. So appreciate it.
Maybe, maybe if you just put it out there, of course, protect yourself with white light beforehand, but before you
Yeah.
go to sleep, if you're protected, to get perhaps the message that it is that you need to hear.
Yeah, I thought about it. It's been on my mind ever since you announced this whole chat tonight, when you did announce it the other day. And yesterday morning, I was meditating in my pyramid. And, as you know, it's kind of a new thing for me. And I just had, I don't know. I can't even explain it really. There's not words to describe what took place, but I'm just new to this whole pyramid thing. And I'm telling you what, the meditations are so intense. I almost felt like I did on my very first QHHT session. And I was kind of to the point where I was just so filled with emotion that I couldn't even speak. So my guides spoke for me in that session. And I just had it's kind of like when you're in that session, you kind of step aside. So it's like you're viewing, it's like you're observing yourself. And I remember going, what's that on your face, like running down the side? Because I'm kind of reclined, and I mean, tears were just running out of my eyes like a river. But it's like I'm observing myself. So I wasn't really feeling the emotion like I would in my 3D self, because I'm so empathic. But I was like, are you crying? Looking at myself, like, are you really crying? And that's when my guides were like, she's healing right now. And my practitioner was really, she was kind of really like, what's happening? What are you doing? What are you feeling right now? What are you seeing? And my guides kind of said, like, shh, be quiet. She's healing. So that's kind of the experience I had yesterday morning when I was meditating in my pyramid. I just had this, and I've heard you speak about this before too, where it's just that feeling that comes over you that is so intense, and it's such an unconditional, like liquid love. And that feeling came over me again, just like it did in my hypnosis session. And I mean, tears just started pouring out of my eyes. I'm like, well, apparently I have some clearing that I still need to do. But this pyramid, I'm telling you what, it is pulling things out. And it was just so amazing. And I got out of that meditation and I just felt like I could jump 20 feet in the air. I just felt so light, and it was wonderful. So, and I know we're in those energies right now. So I'm really trying to, take advantage of that and really tap into that energy to cleanse and transform. And I had a session with Laura Eisenhower about a month ago, and she told me exactly that. She said, your sign, like where you are right now, she's like, I've never seen anybody so perfectly positioned for the transformation. She said, you are literally being hugged by all these planets. You have got to take advantage of this. You've got to step into this. And, I kind of knew already, but it was good to have her just basically tell me, you better do this, girl, so it's been amazing. And I'm getting choked up thinking about it, because it's just, I know there's something huge coming for all of us. And, you know, just reflecting on these things and talking about our experiences, just listening to everyone else is just like, it's doing something for me. You know, I'm just so grateful for this entire group. So
That's why it's so important to have these get-togethers
yes,
out there and to give people that voice to say, hey, this is what's going on in my life, because other people are going through the exact same things you are going through. And I know it's not easy for many of us to get in front of the camera and say what we're saying, because we're all introverts, you know,
right.
85%
But like
of us.
I've been told, you've got to take that step. And that's just what everybody's been telling me, from tarot readings to everything. They're like, you've got to step into this, but you have to make that step. And so, yes, it was not easy, but this platform is probably the only one I've ever felt comfortable or courageous enough to. I mean, I'm not somebody that, I don't want to be in the limelight. I don't want, you know, I don't want the attention. I'm an observer. I'm the one in the corner watching the party, you know, yeah, but I'll have as much fun as the person in the middle of the room. But, you know, I know it's important. And, you know, I think it's other people that have inspired me, you know, and you just continuously confirming that, yes, you are an introvert, and just knowing that we're in like-minded atmosphere, it really does help.
I'm the king of introverts. Every year, since I was in college, every year I take the Briggs-Myers personalities test. Every year I'm an INFP. Every year I'm an introvert. I admit it. I'm proud of it.
Yeah, and I even spent 10 years, believe it or not, teaching, which, oh my God, the first 6 months of that was like, I think I'm in hell. What the hell have I done? Oh my God, this was the worst decision of my life. But it was definitely a necessary step for me, because it did help me. It helped me to gain so much self-awareness. It helped me to realize how much I can help other people just by using my voice and just being. You know, it's not about your authority. It's not about, you know, anything like that. It's just about being and just making things real and coming to meet other people where they're at. So I learned what I was supposed to learn from that. And I did it for a whole decade. And then when it was time to transition, it was like my entire life transitioned. So must have been one of those planetary things, because man, when I shifted, like I rode that wave and boom, here I was in a whole different life, you know, and it was really cool. But that was kind of like I think that was the doorway to my awakening. You know, I had to do the work, and man, I went through hell in my flip-flops, and it was like, here I am. Now what do I do? So and then you have to relearn who you are, you know, relearn your authentic self. But it's a journey that is so amazing. And I've not yet found any two people that have had the same experience. So a friend of mine, I encouraged her to get on tonight just to, you know, be in the group and listen. And I hope that she will eventually be able to tell her story, because that's kind of been where my heart's been all week. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's intense. And she is just an amazing person. And if she's listening right now, I don't know if she's still here or not, but you know, she's been an inspiration to me. Just when you think you've had rough times, you know, wait till you hear someone will come along in your life, and then you're like, oh my God, you're my hero. You know, so I mean, there's so many of us out there that need to have our voice heard and need to be able to relate to somebody. And that's what I told her. I'm like, I will do whatever I can to help you, because you have a story to tell, and that's part of your healing, you know? So I just really am grateful, Greg, for everything you're doing with this platform. I think it's something that is unlike anything else out on YouTube. And it takes a person like you with your humility and your patience and, you know, just being so willing to be that conduit to open up the airwaves for everyone like you have. And, you know, I just think it's incredible. So thank you.
Thank you. It's what I have to do. I got to
Awesome.
be the leader of the introverts, apparently.
Yeah, you're the introvert.
You're the king of the introvert.
I am the king of introverts. And if I can do this, you guys can do it too. You know, anyone that's watching on YouTube, that's commenting over there, you have a channel. You can make these videos, and, you know, even if 10 people see your video, great. That's 10 more people than yesterday who saw nothing from you. You have a voice, you have things to say. Another thing I want to pass along too is that if you go to in 5D and just scroll down, and I think it's at the end on the right hand side here. But if you just keep scrolling down, there's right here, attention writers, submit your article to in 5D, and just click on that and you'll be brought to a page where it'll show you what to do and how you can submit an article. So even if you don't want to talk about what's going on, you know, in this chat that we have right now, you have an opportunity to write about it. And even you can also use a pen name. You don't even have to use your real name if you don't want to. But what I find is that you should stand in your truth. This is me. This is my real name. I don't come on here or on Facebook under a fictitious name. This is me. I honor and stand in my truth, and you should too. So if you have something that you'd like to talk about, but feel too shy about perhaps not saying it here in the forum, you're more than welcome to write about it and send it to me on in 5D, and I'll check it out. So it's been fun. Tracy, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your stories as well.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure, and I'm honored to just be a part of this group. So thank you, Greg.
My pleasure. So I see we
I have
also
one question for Tracy.
Sure.
During her awakening, your awakening, Tracy, do you experience vertigo?
Oh. Say that again, Sam.
Explain vertigo.
Do you
Vertigo.
experience
vertigo.
vertigo?
Yes, I think I've had every ascension symptom known to man. Mine is just, I have a whole journal because I was like at first thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to go 3D and get health insurance. And then I started realizing, no, I'm not dying. I'm just going through ascension. And once I realized that and I learned how to transmute energy, it's kind of been a lot easier to deal with. I don't, have days on end where I can't function. Some of the energies are pretty strong that come in, but again, I'm learning how to transmute that through crystals and meditation and some of the energetic tools that I have. So, but vertigo has been probably one of the least things that I've experienced. I would say probably in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks with this whole new whatever's coming through. There was one on January 6th and then another one on the 13th. And I did have a couple moments like that. And then one of the things I've experienced this week is I feel like I was in a different timeline for a while this week, because even with my job, like I do some reports that I personally create and track things. And I had the dates wrong for the day. I thought it was the 15th, but I thought it was Friday. And I'm emailing people and I'm like, can you please change the date on this? Because it needs to be accurate. And they're like, no, it's the 16th today. And I was like, no, it can't be. But I kind of went through this little timeline this week that was weird. It's like, I swear I'm very organized. I'm always on top of things. I mean, I can click my cell phone and find out what day it is, but I mean, I was just for sure that I was right. And I'm sending messages to people and telling them, correct this, correct that. And then come to find out I was wrong. So it was kind of weird to me. Like, that's kind of one of the most bizarre experiences I've had lately. But the vertigo, I've heard a lot of other people having vertigo lately too. With the blackout, a couple blackouts, and just, I think what I've been researching and hearing is that the timelines are merging. 3D and 5D are kind of in the merging process. So a lot of people are kind of flipping back and forth between the two. If you're awake and, you know, you have been to the 5D, that a lot of people are kind of, it's a vertigo thing because you're kind of like 3D, 5D, 3D, 5D. So I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that, but I would love to, you know, hear what other people are saying about that.
I experienced 2017, the difference of the energies. Not anymore, just high pitch.
Well, this is what we're looking at right now on the Schumann resonance. We had that
Yeah,
big old
it's crazy.
blackout for 30 some odd hours. And then we had a little whiteout here from dark to light. And then bam, look at this stuff
Wow,
that's
yeah,
going on.
That's today.
And that's current right now.
So can you, I can't see it very good. Can you tell me what, okay, so when I looked at the Schumann resonance yesterday,
Mhm.
I believe when it came back on was exactly the time that I was meditating.
Okay.
So can you tell me what time of day that is?
It'll take me a minute. So there's 24 hours and
It's like 2 o'clock.
Because that's, I had gotten up and I checked the Schumann.
yeah, so
Right
you
after
said it was around 2 o'clock. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 o'clock
Uh-huh.
Florida time, or what time the frame is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Does that sound right to you?
Well, I think it was earlier than that here. I mean, I'm in Texas, so,
Mhm.
but I want to say when I checked it, it was just starting like that little blue line. And it was right after my meditation. It had to have been around 10 or 11 a.m. Maybe the green line was there and then it started turning blue.
Okay.
It was just a little strip. But that was, I thought that was kind of weird too, because I'm like, well, maybe that's why I was feeling such an intensity, because the Schumann resonance came back into view, and I'm sure it affected all of us, but we just at the moment weren't physically aware of it, you know. But
Seems like the Schumann resonance is getting, every time I have some kind of live show right here, it just goes crazy.
Yeah.
Every time, just a coincidence, but I don't know.
I don't think it's a coincidence. I think, you know, it's all these energies coming together in this group. I mean, how many people are in the 70s?
Yeah, that's true.
A lot
That
of
is true.
And, you know, we're all kind
When
of,
that happened,
Mhm.
when that happened, I get zapped and then I get really tired. I'll be asleep like 12 hours.
So what I'm going to do, once again, thank you, Tracy, for chiming in here. I'm going to unmute everybody in the room, and if there's anyone
Oh
else.
man, the only thing I need for the ZD is the only thing you didn't watch.
What?
And
What?
I don't think Elena knows that she's on live mic right
I
now.
think I can watch it.
she's making beating.
Just say good night to everybody because I'm really
The
pooped.
shut
and we're in central Wisconsin in a major blizzard right now.
Oh
So
my.
yeah, and I'm
Stay
actually
safe, Susan.
just
Thank
Stay
you.
warm.
introvert, believe it or not.
Wow.
So I'd like to send you an album. So hopefully I can get on your site and find a PO number
Okay.
by spirit and send that to you. But
Okay.
thank you, and thank you everyone. This was just truly amazing, and I look forward to seeing you all again.
Thank you.
What I'll do, hang on. I'll send you a private message right now in chat. Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
And I'll learn how to change my name.
Yeah. We appreciate that, Samsung Galaxy S7.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm incognito.
Beautiful.
Okay, there it is. Just send it in chat.
Okay.
Zoom.
Thanks all. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Okay, so now once again, we have unmuted everybody, including Elena. You there, Elena? No, she's muted. There you are. You're unmuted. Elena? I don't know. Nope. Guess not. Well, who else do we have here? We still have Carol that hasn't spoke. We have Greg P of all people. I wonder who that could be. It's not me. Not sure what Elena's doing. She's not talking today, apparently. So I guess I'll go through one more. I'll mention about past lives. I see things, as I said, before they happen. Sometimes I see things that have already happened. And that's how I got two of my past lives were in dreams. And my first past life that I can remember was in Atlantis. I had two lives in Atlantis. And the first one, I was an artist. And I made these beautiful sculptures and paintings. And it was during when Atlantis was just up and going. And it was just a beautiful place to be and to live. But my last life in Atlantis, I was an engineer in charge of the genetic modification of plants, animals, and insects. And I kept making these hideous creations. And I remember as Atlantis was sinking, I was sinking with my creations, thinking, we can't let this happen again. We can't let this happen again. But yet it's happening right now with Monsanto and all this cloning that's going on. So, history's repeating itself, unfortunately. I mentioned my other past life that I had as a Mayan elder. And all you got to do is go to in5d.com and type in MP3 in the search box, and you'll be brought to a link that will show you the link that I used to have a past life. Here it is right here, free past life regression, self-hypnosis. Just click on that link. And what you'll have is an MP3 that you can play that you listen to as you're going to sleep. Right before you go to bed, it'll trigger a past life in your dreams. So here's the little button you want to hit right here. It's a 30-minute MP3. And you can always click here, right click and download it. Save target as. Don't listen to it while you're driving, but here's my past life that I got from it. And I've only done this one time. I was a Mayan elder who was being forced into Christianity after the Spanish Inquisition. There was a Christian celebration going on in my homeland, which looked similar to an area around Belize, very tropical and beautiful blue waters. There were Mayan glyphs all around that were worn and tattered. I wanted the Christians to include our glyphs in their celebration, but they were only focused on transforming the remainder of my people to Christianity. They threatened to kill me if I didn't convert to Christianity. The only reason I didn't fight the Christians was because I knew the children needed to preserve our traditions without the Christians knowing about it. So I lied about agreeing to convert without the Christians knowing. I planned on teaching the children of our clan our traditions and values, not the Christian ones. So that's why I came into this world with a predisposition about organized religion. I have always known that there's something wrong with it. And as I've mentioned before, as a child, I would walk into the church and get the EBGBs from just the energy of that church, Methodist church. And I almost got kicked out of Sunday school because I kept questioning my Sunday school teacher about our origins. They called up my parents and told them to tell me to stop asking so much questions because I'm disrupting Sunday school. So, and that all stems from this past life regression that I had about being forced into Christianity. So there you have that.
I have a question for you, Greg.
Sure.
When you wake up after listening to that, Is it like instant you remember, or like how are you recalling?
I just woke up and it was everything. It was, I could remember all the minute details of those
Wow.
broken glyphs on the on the ground and the feeling of everybody around me, and it was so real. It
Almost
was
like
so
you
real.
time traveled there again, huh?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Felt like it.
amazing.
Felt real. So, yeah, definitely check that out.
So you're gonna have to have another show so we can all tell our experiences.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool. I'd want everybody to, at least be willing to come on and talk instead of listening, which most people end up doing.
Mr. Gary Hall.
Yeah. So that was one of my, God, I've gone on and on and on. But
I've talked a lot this evening. Somehow I have my camera reversed, so if I do turn on my camera, you'll see my television and what's in the background instead of me. But yes, I totally agree 100%. According to some people, there is no time. There is just now, and everything that's already happened has happened. Everything that's gonna happen is gonna happen, and we're just here for the ride.
there's a person, Ian Lungold, who said that at the end of at the end of these end times, everything that possibly can happen will happen at the same time.
Well, I
like
kind
we're
of like
kinda
to
getting
think
there.
like Baba Ram Dass, the late Baba Ram Dass. Unfortunately, he's transitioned now, but we're all just walking each other home. Really, that's all we're doing. We're learning how to love each other. That's what we're here for. That's what I really think.
I agree.
Getting back to that Schumann resonance too. Where is it? Right here. We're seeing these lines right here. The dimensions are coming through. I think the dimensions are bleeding through because our baseline, our base frequency is 7.83. We have that line here. We have the line at 16 going across. And then at 32 and a higher right here. So there's a doubling, 8, 16, and 32 that we see these lines going across. It's possible we're looking at, 3D, 4D, 5D.
The veil is thinning.
Yeah. And they're all here overlapped upon one another. So it's really fascinating to watch this all unfold.
I think that's what's that might be the physical evidence of the collapsing timelines that everybody seems to be experiencing. I mean, I've done that myself. I remember the other night we were talking about, was it Chuck E. Cheese or Chuck E. Cheese's?
The Mandela effects. Yeah.
Yeah. I drove by the one here in Birmingham. It's Chuck E. Cheese's here, but who knows where it is someplace else,
Yeah.
That's when we need to get our old photos out and find the proof. Everybody had a birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese one time.
But what if the photos had changed?
Oh my gosh, that's that.
So yeah, I mean that's a good point, Gary, that these Mandela effects are our proof that these timelines are converging, and we're basically down to 2 timelines and 3 dimensions that are overlapping one another. It's pretty cool.
So this is the year to experience all of it.
Sorry.
So what I think I'm going to do, I'm probably going to end it right here. We've been on for over 3 hours, and I want to thank everybody for joining me once again on Zoom and on YouTube. You guys are awesome. We are family. This is what it's all about, bringing Star Family together. And I want to encourage people to join us also on In5D Patreon, where we have this Insiders Club private chat on the first Wednesday of every month, 7 p.m. So you can join us on that. Also, check out the t-shirts at in5d.net. They're magical. They're just full of energy. And everyone's saying that if you sleep in them, you're going to have these amazing dreams. So check that out. as well. I'm not sure when I'll be doing the next broadcast. It might be Monday. I haven't decided yet, and specifically what the topic's about. There's a few topics that I'm kicking around. I think it'd be really interesting though to do a book topic, your favorite book recommendations, because I think that's what people want to see. You know, a lot of people are interested in reading, and we've all read some amazing books. My first and foremost would be Dolores Cannon. If I'm going to recommend anything, the Convoluted Universe series. So anyway, I'm going to leave it off right there, right here, right now. I want to thank everyone for joining me. You know, it's been my pleasure hosting this, and
Thank you.
thank you.
Greg.
My pleasure. And I'm sending you all infinite love and light. Until the next time, it's Greg from N5D. Namaste.
Peace and love, everyone.
Thanks.
Peace and love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you
Bye
later.
bye.
Namaste.
Cool.